Good evening and welcome to the June 18th meeting of the Livermore City Council. This is a special meeting, so we will be talking about the downtown tonight. So let the roll call show that all the members of the City Council are present and accounted for. I'll ask that you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to reorder the agenda since it's. Don't worry, don't panic. It's okay. It's all good. But I just thought it would be better to hear the presentation first, because then you might have some of your questions answered. And then we could speak to the presentation. So with that, I'm just reordering the agenda. We're moving 3 up to 2. So we'll hear the staff presentations first, have any questions answered by the council, and then we'll move ahead and take the public comment. Okay? All right, so with that, we have Steve Stewart, Planning Manager, and Tricia Ponto, the planner, working on this.
And I'd like to formally introduce Tricia. She's been with the city for about a year now, but this is her first time to the city council meeting, so happy to have her on board. She's doing a great job. Wow. All right. And you haven't even heard the presentation yet.
Already clapping.
So they've given you the helm.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. Back in January, you approved a plan for the downtown core site, which included Stockman's Park, the location of commercial retail buildings and 2 cultural facilities, a black box theater and a science and society center. At the same meeting in January, the City Council granted an easement to the Livermore Stockman's Rodeo Association that defined the boundaries of Stockman's Park and areas for the commercial and cultural uses that would frame Stockman's Park. So back on April 27th, staff circulated a request for qualifications, or an RFQ, seeking qualifications for parties interested in designing, constructing, and operating the Black Box Theater, commercial retail buildings, and the Science and Society Center. So applicants responding to the RFQ could submit qualifications for all of the components or separately for the theater, science center, or commercial buildings. The RFQ stated that the developers should have relevant experience, capital sources, or a plan to raise financial capital, and a team or personnel knowledgeable in their areas of expertise. Additional criteria in the RFQ included familiarity with the project, performance on similar projects, ability to activate the space, Stockman's Park, and surrounding uses, and creativity of design and vision for the properties that contribute to downtown as a destination. The city received 2 submittals, both of which met the qualifications outlined in the RFQ. So the first one is from the Livermore Performing Arts Center, which is just for the Black Box Theater. And then the second is the Unified Vision submittal, which is a coordinated proposal, but each component would be independently developed and operated. So Red Bear LLC would be developing and operating the commercial buildings. The Black Box Theater would be developed and operated by Livermore Shakespeare Festival, and the Science and Society Center would be operated by Livermore Science and Society Center. The City Council may choose any combination of partners, and consistent with the RFQ, the applicants submitted concepts for their desired projects. However, the actual project details and terms of development would be subject to negotiation between the city and the selected project applicants. So based on the council's review of the information in the packet and presented to you this evening, staff is recommending that the council select development partners for each project component that will best serve the needs of the community consistent with the council's vision for the approved downtown plan, and adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an exclusive negotiating rights agreement with each of the selected partners. So that concludes staff's presentation, and we're available for questions. And then as part of the interview and selection process, the applicants also have presentations for you, and we recommend that you hear them in alphabetical order, beginning with Livermore Valley Performing Arts Center, and then followed by the coordinated proposals in the Unified Vision that include Red Bear LLC, Livermore Science and Society Center, and Livermore Shakespeare Festival.
Very good. Thank you. Do you have questions for staff at this point? Okay, very good. Thank you. So with that, I understand we have presentations by the applicants.
Correct.
Okay.
So first is LVPAC. If you'd like to come forward and make your presentation, thank you.
And do we have a, thank you. Mayor Marchand, council members, and city staff, we are honored to present to you our proposal to develop, operate, and sustain the downtown Livermore Black Box Theater, and we thank you for your time and consideration for this proposal. My name is Scott Kennison. I'm the Executive Director of Livermore Valley Performing Arts Center, also known as LVPAC, and the main project lead for this proposal. Also with me is Chris Carter, our Director of Development and Communications and designated project lead for fundraising for this project, as well as Steve McCracken, lead architect, and Tim Tabernick and Daryl Nemero from HTA, who are consulting with us. During the next 20 minutes, we'll be guiding you through our proposal for the development of the Black Box Theater. We will touch upon many components that were detailed in our proposal, of which you should all have a copy. As many of you know, the Livermore Valley Performing Arts Center opened its doors on September 29th, 2007. And for the past 11 years, we have been offering a broad range of arts opportunities and experiences to engage our diverse community, which is our core mission. We have successfully operated for this time due to the generosity of our growing donor base, supporters, the city, and the city who believe in what we do and make sure we always have the support to keep our doors open. We are committed to the city's vision of making Livermore a destination for the arts and sciences. This vision is aligned with the LVPAC vision of being the heart of a vibrant cultural arts community. We envision our proposal for the Black Box Theater as a complementary and supporting proposal, fitting seamlessly within the unified plan with all the other components of the city's plans for downtown. Regardless of the outcome of this selection process, we are committed to continued collaboration with the arts and cultural organizations in Livermore and the Tri-Valley. I firmly believe that what is good for the city of Livermore will ultimately be good for the Bankhead, Bothwell, Livermore Shakespeare Associates, our 9 resident companies, and all of the organizations that provide services to the city. One of the reasons I took this position 3.5 years ago was because while LVPAC had established itself as a community-focused center that served the entire and increasingly diverse Livermore community, I also saw a huge potential and opportunity, which is why when we received the RFQ for the Black Box Theater, our organization took the opportunity to reflect on our goals and vision for the future, examining our role for the arts and our role in the city of Livermore, bringing the arts to the citizens of Livermore. We asked why. Why would we want to take on this new responsibility? How can LVPAC best support the city? How would this help create increased visibility and the reputation for Livermore? Why would we want to build another theater? After heartfelt discussions with staff and advisors, we arrived at the conclusion that has brought us here today, that yes, it makes sense. The answer is, this is what we do. This is what we do every day. Now in our 11th year, LVPAC has built the operational foundation necessary to support a new facility by providing established systems and infrastructure. We leverage an amazing, passionate, and experienced staff of 13 and over 200 volunteers who are all dedicated to making LVPAC the center of cultural life in Livermore and beyond. Add to that a strong leadership team, and we are ready to take on this new project. We have committed funders and a diverse funding streams, which is essential to the long-term operational success. We already have financial commitments of $2.3 million for the development of this project. For this year, we hit our stride with 27 sold-out shows of the 57 that we've presented this year, and sales for this upcoming season outpacing last season by 25% so far. Additionally, the Black Box Theater will launch at an operating advantage with LVPAC's existing patron base of 63,000 homes. Building on this foundation, we will be able to develop and operate the Black Box Theater efficiently and affordably. LVPAC was originally envisioned as a traditional performing arts center, meaning there would be multiple performing venues. By developing the Black Box Theater, LVPAC and the City of Livermore would be following the highly successful models of a single organization operating multiple arts venues in a downtown location. Much like the Disney Concert Hall and Red Cat in LA, B Street Theater in Sacramento, or closer to home, the Gallo Center in Modesto or the Lesher Center in Walnut Creek. The Black Box Theater will allow us to more fully realize our mission and bring a wide array of arts opportunities to our diverse community. Let's step inside and explore our proposed vision for the Black Box Theater. We will redefine the traditional black box concept by assembling a richly diverse and contrasting experiences in this new cultural hub. The Black Box Theater will be an innovative and multi-use space. The Black Box Theater will be developed in partnership with other local and regional organizations, thereby helping to build and sustain a vibrant Livermore and Tri-Valley cultural scene, engaging, educating, and entertaining through the arts and sciences. The Black Box Theater will be a cultural gathering place for people who might otherwise never cross paths. We will engage young people in the creative process in order to shape a society of creative, confident, and collaborative individuals. Before I go into the concept for the building, this is a launching point, and we look forward to working with the city, Stockman's Association, and other downtown partners to focus the vision of this project. The 13,467 square foot Black Box Theater will be a signature work of architecture that moves beyond just being a theater and performance venue to become a flexible, environmentally sustainable, multi-use space. The building will include many firsts for the region in its acoustics, structural flexibility, and theatrical presentation, environmental stewardship, and partnership involvement. Designed by McCracken Architects, an established firm with extensive experience designing civic buildings that incorporate the history and local essence into the design, the Black Box Theater will be a community facility and gathering place with visual alignment to other historic buildings in Livermore through materials used and modern design elements. Buildings designed by McCracken Architects already have an extensive presence in downtown Livermore on the east side of Livermore along First Street and the west side of Livermore Avenue, thereby creating architectural continuity in the downtown area while offering architectural diversity within the new downtown core area, featuring a variety of architectural designs by developers of the other components. Plant Construction has extensive experience in building and renovating performing arts spaces, including ACT's Strand Theater and the Walt Disney Family Theater, both in San Francisco, and of course, the Bankhead Theater here in Livermore. Both of these organizations are Bay Area companies who know the community well. On the first floor, you will see the entire building is meant to be flexible, multi-use space, a space for a community to gather, create, and enjoy. Programmatically and spatially, we will seek to provide a space for a different range of events that complement and strengthen what is currently offered throughout the city. The lobby, a central gathering space and open community space with rotating lobby gallery presentations focused on Livermore and regional history and culture. The Black Box Theater itself features a state-of-the-art sound system, retractable raked seating to allow for flexible utilization, so it can be a traditional theater, it can be three-quarters thrust, or an open space for meetings or events. 250 seats with the ability to easily reduce number of seats based on need. Front walls of the Black Box Theater are operable, giving the ability to create a large performance area on the outdoor stage open to Stockman's Park, or a large event space also open to Stockman's Park. We can, with this building, expand our programming opportunities, including the performing arts, contemporary American theater, classical theater, a chance for groups to experiment and take chances, children's theater, lecture and education series, including Livermore local interest lectures, film series, presentations and performances involving the sciences in collaboration with the Science and Society Center, and an extension of Bankhead Presents. We can leverage our relationships that we have built over the years with agents to bring national and international artists to Livermore. Joint programming for the whole Livermore downtown, for example, a Reds, Whites, and Blues festival with a photography exhibit in the museum, of blues artists, concerts in the Black Box Theater, Bankhead, Bothwell, the Bankhead Plaza, and Stockman's Park, history of the blues, master classes and demonstrations, and science, what makes the blues what it is today, wine pairings and with pairings of red and white wines with performances. The Art Museum is envisioned as a rental space and an income generator for the building, and it features dedicated multi-use art museum and gallery on the first floor. It connects to the main lobby area and can be used jointly for large events or separated for private, smaller events such as wine tastings with the ability to be closed off. And programming is envisioned with exhibit openings, school engagement and educational topics based on exhibits, art lectures, and rotating art exhibits featuring regional artists. We will continue our outdoor engagement in Stockman Park and in the Bankhead Plaza with the Innovation Fair and the annual Art Walk, outdoor concerts and films. Cultural and history celebrations will continue, including the Hispanic Heritage Celebration, Native American Festival, Chinese New Year, Barrio Fiesta celebrating Filipino heritage, Taste of Africa, Veterans Day in partnership with Stockman's Association, Diwali, International Yoga Day, which happens on Thursday if you're interested, possibly the possibility to host farmers markets weekly, and indoor and outdoor presentation space in fronting Stockman's Park. On our second floor, we envision another income generator, which would be a restaurant cafe, and the restaurant would feature farm-to-table menu, locally sourced ingredients, highlighting Livermore and the Tri-Valley, as well as the East Bay, to be complementary to the steakhouse proposed by the other developer, providing a variety of dining options for visitors to this area, and featuring, of course, local Livermore wines. We will have produce sourced from our rooftop garden and provide catering for conferences, hotel guests, and other facilities in the area. Special events and programming will include specialized wine tastings, culinary classes, culinary and wine education programs, and a wine tasting collective, giving wineries that do not have tasting rooms an opportunity to have the place downtown and more exposure. Not on this map is the rooftop garden, which will be an edible garden producing food for the restaurant and the farmers market, and the opportunity to partner with nonprofit organizations who use gardening as part of their programming and educational outreach, like Sunflower Hill, who have offered a letter of support. Classrooms and breakout rooms will be dedicated for educational purposes, as well as rented as additional breakout rooms for conferences, office space, and conference space in partnership with other venues in the downtown core. Collectively, there will be a variety of options for conference rentals, from small meetings to large multi-day conferences, ideal for the labs and local businesses. We have consulted with our architects and developers and have concluded that the project, including soft costs, is estimated at $13.5 million. Since the inception of the Livermore Valley Performing Arts Center, LVPAC has raised over $50 million to support our mission. In the 4 weeks we have been working on this proposal, we have commitments of $2.35 million, which will inspire additional giving. As you can see, our capital budget relies solely on contributed income and does not ask the city for support. We currently have 20 prospects identified with a cumulative ask of over $20 million. I know many of you will say, but you are always asking the city for money. That is what we do. As a Livermore community-serving nonprofit, the city will always be a prospect for us, but we are not counting on that to get this project done. With consistent annual earned and contributed revenue, we maintain financial solvency. For the past 3 fiscal years, we have been able to set aside a capital reserve, and at the end of this month, we'll establish an operating reserve for the first time. LVPAC has the experience of having built and sustained an arts facility from the ground up in downtown Livermore, and have worked with architects, contractors, financial advisors, government agencies, and community and partners. We have the experience and relationships necessary to ensure an excellent product delivered efficiently and in a timely manner. And we have the fiscal foundation to successfully manage the ongoing operation of the Black Box Theater. By broadening our scope of offerings and overall impact to the community, the Black Box Theater will allow us to attract a wider array of new funders with greater capacity and a desire to have their philanthropy be more fully realized. Once the Black Box Theater facility is completed, the ongoing operating budget will be part of the overall LVPAC organizational budget. Because LVPAC already manages an existing larger arts organization, the infrastructure and foundation are already in place. Therefore, we will avoid many startup and ramp-up costs. We have based our operating budget on real costs from our experience at the Bankhead and the Bothwell. The Black Box Theater will launch at an operational advantage with the support of LVPAC's existing patron base. We will also leverage existing leadership and technical staffing, the annual audit, office space, equipment, insurance coverage, and other fixed costs that will not need to be replicated when adding the Black Box Theater to LVPAC. By operating both the Bankhead and the Black Box Theater, funding appeal increases greatly because of the larger impact on the community. As outlined in the business plan of our proposal, we will be maximizing income by diversifying our funding sources, including earned income through ticketing, rentals from conferences and events. The rental model we are using is based on the organization's annual budget and a portion of the ticket sales, which will make the space accessible. It is different from the Bankhead in that it will be more of a self-serve space, and groups will be able to use their staff or volunteers to present with the assistance of a venue manager. Fund development from foundations, corporations, regional and national government funding, and individuals will also be available for us. By working collaboratively with the other nonprofit entities represented in the core plan, such as the Science and Society Center, the Art Museum, and Stockman's Association, we will be able to obtain funding for unique programming opportunities that will further support the vision of this downtown area. Our timeline gives us 30 months to design and build this project. We plan an opening in December of 2020. Fundraising will be done in 3 phases over 21 months. We feel confident that our timeline is achievable, and we are committed to developing this project without long-term debt. I know that any arts organization is in peril when they take on crippling debt. Our plan includes community charrettes to engage the interested parties and our existing partners. We will put in place benchmarks to move from phase to phase. Ultimately, by selecting LVPAC to develop the Black Box Theater, you are selecting an organization that is an expert in developing and operating an arts venue, an organization that has the operational foundation and funding capacity to create not just the Black Box Theater, but a multifaceted destination for the arts and culture in downtown Livermore. We are an organization whose strength not only lies in our experience, but also in our passion for what we do. We are comprised of individuals, such as myself and Chris, who are experts in our fields and who have complete dedication to the arts. We are excited by the opportunity to continue to work collaboratively and serve the city of Livermore, the developers of the Science and Society Center, Stockman's Association, the planned hotel and retailers, the school district, Livermore Shakespeare Associates, and all of our existing partners, as well as the entire arts community. LVPAC has both the skill set and capacity to facilitate partnerships, coordination, communications, finance, fund development, box office, and stage management, so that the Black Box Theater is not an isolated project, but rather an integral part of our vision for Livermore as a hub for the performing and visual arts and science education in partnership with the Livermore Science and Society Center. We thank you for your time and consideration for our proposal, and we'll welcome any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kinnison. Any questions at this point? No? All right.
So I've got some questions, but perhaps listen to both proposals
Okay.
and then call the
That's
people back.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Kinnison.
So next up from the Unified Group, we have Mr. Madden to present.
The slide up to just the overhead.
Neil, could you put up the site plan? Could you put up the site plan slide? Cities. Yep. Pull up the city's presentation.
And good evening, Mr. Madden.
Excuse me?
I said, good evening, Mr. Madden.
Well, good evening, Mayor Marchand and members of the council. Okay. Oh, beautiful. Before I get started on the specifics of our proposal, I'd like to just express my appreciation for the process. I've been a kind of an interested bystander on this property for about 20 years now, and there were some proposals that came along that I thought would have really undone a lot of what a lot of us have worked real hard to achieve in the downtown. When we started doing things, and I'm not speaking just to myself, it's the redevelopment agency when it existed, the community at large, the other developers in the downtown, and the people who open a door every day to conduct business. I mean, it's been a great effort, and we've come a long way in these 20 years. And there were some proposals for this site that I thought could kind of undo a lot of what we did, and I think we're through the process. I know some of us who do business in Livermore and live and work here kind of roll our eyes sometimes, but I think the process got it right on this one, because we're at a place where we're going to enhance all the work that's been done, and we're going to take this downtown to the next level. When doctors go to treat you, the first thing they do is do no harm. So I mean, the parking, it's not doing any harm. I mean, the fact that we can all park to dine at the restaurants and the ale house and on all the stuff, it's working, and we've got to take it to the next level. As this process unfolded, once again, I was more of a bystander, and then I got a call one day from David Kent, and he says, "We think Blacksmith Square should be expanded." And I said, "Okay, that's a wonderful idea." And I agree. And so I kind of stayed in the loop. I just took phone calls when they came my way, and then finally I got an RFQ that said, "We're looking for a retail developer to build some buildings around Blacksmith Square," and I raised my hand and submitted the proposals, or at least my qualifications. The problem with Blacksmith Square has always been that it's kind of down there on an island. So we're over in here, and the people who were present 20 years ago when Michael Friedman talked about the challenges for our downtown, he talked about, whoops. Oh no, now we're in trouble. You shouldn't have trusted me with this thing. He indicated down in here, there was 5 or 6 lanes that you had to cross. And so we had to shrink down some things. So we shrunk down from the Independent to Lizzie Fountain, and we achieved, just with infrastructure, we did some things that made our downtown work. And one of the other, now the big gap exists. Here's Blacksmith Square, and our next building is down here where Sandia and Uncle Hughes are. So the first thing that the expansion of Blacksmith Square will do, it'll help draw down to the original Blacksmith Square, the 2 muffler shop buildings. I'll start with this building here. We envision that as we're in 2.5 stories here, we would across a small road build something a little bit larger. I don't know if it would be a full 2-story building, but it would be a building, again, red brick like Blacksmith Square. We would do our best to make it look historical in nature, like it's been here for 100 years or so. And this again, it might not be a 2-story building, but from the curb, it would be a big, larger building, 1.5 stories, maybe 2 stories, but maybe it would be a big loft inside with a very, very high vaulted ceiling. The other thing that's kind of fun about this building is it's got a lot of exposure here to the Stockman Park, and being able to activate the park through outside dining or other elements. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here with the size of the building and the amount of frontage on the park and the street. And so that building has a lot of possibilities. As we move down here, this building would probably be more of an add-on to that building. Again, kind of extending the frontage of the buildings up toward this other new building, again, pinching it down so we would have kind of like Michael Friedman talked about, you'd kind of be drawn down the street to get to the corner, and that would be the ultimate goal. There's another new site right back here. That would probably just be an expansion of this building. It would extend down. There are some logistical things that need to be considered. There's our restrooms, and we've got transformers and things. So this building would be kind of a concept in progress. Let's just leave it that way. The final new building would be this building back in here. And the interesting thing about that is it does butt up against the other elements of tonight's concepts and proposals. There's a lot of things that can be done between these two buildings. Rather than commit to that tonight, exactly what that might be, I would just kind of indicate our track record as neighbors to, we built, when we were asked, we built trash enclosures over here to make these properties work better. We added a police station down here into one of our earlier projects. We leased space to the movie theater. They needed 3 more cinemas so they could be a 13 cinema project instead of a 10, so they now get better movies because of that. So my point is that if there are some elements here that need some help, cooperation, we've got a pretty good track record as to when things make sense. We're here to make it better for everybody. I learned how to use a laser pointer, and that's pretty much my presentation. So.
Ed, thank you. Questions at this point? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Madden.
Next up, I believe we have Livermore Shakespeare.
Okay.
Over there in case I need it. You want to adjust it? Okay. Honorable Mayor, Council, I'm Lisa Tromovich, the President and Producing Artistic Director of Livermore Shakespeare Festival.
And I'm Katie Marcel. I'm the founding treasurer of Livermore Shakespeare Festival, and I'm the current full-time managing director.
We'll share a few highlights from our response to the RFQ. We know that you have read it, and we are part of a coalition coordinated proposal with Red Bear Inc. and the Livermore Science and Society Center. We'll try to hit the highlights.
The combination of arts, culture, heritage, viticulture, and science form a rich identity and way of life that is clearly acknowledged and celebrated by the community. Arts Alive is based on this diverse and inclusive community's sensibility of its own culture. That is a quote from our city's Arts Alive Cultural Arts Master Plan.
The city of Livermore needs a place for artists to both create and perform live theatrical events. We don't have one. Livermore Shakespeare Festival creates theatrical experiences here in the Tri-Valley and needs a building in which to do so year-round. We have banded together with diverse groups looking to share resources and find a home in this community. We believe the roots of a strong community include creating a common ground to celebrate diverse cultures, create a strong network to build up new and diverse voices, and making good on the promise of Arts Alive.
Culture is how we live. The arts plan must reflect the changing nature of the community, ethnicity, culture, food, our stories. And that's another quote from the Cultural Arts Master Plan. We are uniquely qualified. We're bigger than we look. We started 16 years ago with just a vision, and today we have 2.5 full-time staff, over 40 part-time employees, over 175 volunteers. We enjoy an 85% occupancy rate in our 300-seat outdoor stage at Wente Vineyards. We doubled our audience in the last 5 years. Our earned income is up 34% just last year.
34%?
We did a Midsummer Night's Dream. People buy tickets for that.
And Serenade to Bergerac.
Yes, we did. We have well over 200 donors, and we annually educate over 1,500 students. Our unearned donated revenue has increased by 40% in the last 5 years. We're expert marketers, and others seek our marketing advice. We have experienced fundraising for and implementing change. When we needed to move from Kincannon, we assembled a new vision committee, raised the funds necessary, built the new stage at Wente on time and on budget. We are resourceful, adaptable, and prudent because we have to be. We get it done.
More for you.
And we're uniquely qualified because we produce theater. What does that mean, to be a producing theater? This includes human resources management of over 40 seasonal employees and 7 teaching artists. It's managing our well over 5,000 patrons. 5 years ago, we began managing using a system called Patron Manager. It's a complex CRM, customer relationship management system, and we actually recommended the system to LVPEC, and they adopted it about a year ago. We have a strong record in fundraising and grant writing, including 2 years of large grants from the state's California Arts Council of $18,000 and over $15,000 for our education program. We know you're reviewing 2 proposals. The primary difference between our 2 models is that LSF, Livermore Shakespeare Festival, is a producing company that creates, rehearses, and performs an artistic work for a predetermined length of time. LVPEC is a presenting company that provides a venue for pre-existing work of other artists, typically for a single evening. Since the Black Box is a producing venue, whereas the Bankhead is a presenting venue, the 2 cultural assets are not directly competitive and serve different purposes in our community. Our business models are different.
We are uniquely qualified. Katie and I have actually been marveling about how all of our past experiences are somehow coming together for this opportunity. In particular, we both have experience with public-private partnerships and in producing large-scale public events in downtowns. Katie, as the Assistant Director of Livermore Downtown, Inc., serving for 6 years during the Downtown Renaissance. Me, as the Executive Director of an organization that was one part of a 3-part management structure for the Downtown Dallas Arts District, which ultimately included being the site coordinator for Artist Square in a public-private partnership, an area that was actually part of a phasing project destined for a cultural building, but was being used by the public for outdoor events with 2 stages and 2 buildings. Together, we have 52 combined years of professional leadership experience in arts and entertainment. If we are selected to build it, we will work with the city and community on the design, raise funds, operate within our means, our promise. We will make good on the promise to the community to provide a space to create art, a promise that LVPAC is unable to fulfill by themselves, and so we will become a partner in this endeavor. So what will it look like? This, as you've seen, is the city's vision. This is our vision. We pledge to support the ongoing process to complete the vision laid out by the citizens and adopted by the council. To do so, we've engaged Fogg Studio, an architectural firm with special expertise in working with nonprofits and cities. Pictured here are renderings and site photos of their Brentwood Library, which is currently under construction. They are creative and sensitive to the green needs of communities. They are LEED accredited professionals. They are an equal male-female partnership, and they strive to create opportunities and enable social justice through design. They will be represented here, I believe. Oh, we are represented here. We got to cheer for you down front. Come on down. They are represented here today by partner Tiffany Redding, who will be available to answer questions. Come sit by us. Oops. All righty. Okay, so here's our shared vision. The Black Box Theater is on the left, and it is next door to the Science and Society Center, which will save in building costs by utilizing the Black Box Theater for science lectures. We envision shared programming around a single theme. For example, climate change. There could be a play in the Black Box about the subject, a science exhibit in the LSSC, and a famous speaker on the topic at the Bankhead Theater. There are plays about everything, and there is science in everything. And as you can see, our vision for the design of Stockman Park is conducive to sparking a community conversation where everything opens out onto a common village green, and we can continue the conversations after the programming. We envision a prominent structure that fits within the cultural facilities boundary set by the city, with a facade of 3 buildings, 2 classic reproductions of buildings typical of prosperous Western towns, flanking a postmodern glass lobby that opens al fresco onto a concert deck via multiple glass paneled garage doors. It will open up and feel welcoming. It will be an iconic representation of the city's proud past, dynamic present, and promising future. We envisioned sharing the Black Box Theater location by providing facilities to fully activate Stockman's Park. You see here what we call our multi-use pavilion, with a southern building. It's a support building with restrooms that open both inside and outdoors, storage for shade structures and balustrades, and mechanical room. They are connected. Then there's a north building, which has a snack bar and warming kitchen to support catered events on the green, a box office window, and green rooms for musicians. They're connected by the lobby that serves as a backdrop for the bands and is anchored by the outdoor concert platform. She so wants this thing to be built. Together, the buildings provide some windbreak and some shade for the grassy area of the park. We're picturing it here as phase 1. This structure could be built before the Black Box Theater is added, but it is obviously our intent to build the whole thing together. This is just a great way to clarify how the shared spaces work, and these are the spaces that primarily support music, festival, and wine events on the green. Now here is the multi-use pavilion with the black box inside. A flexible theater housing performances, classes, speakers, with a backstage, green room, and an elevator leading to a second floor. The second floor of the north building will house theater dressing rooms, a costume shop, offices, and a classroom/meeting space. And the second story of the main part contains the grid system, the control booth, and costume storage. So that's what it'll look like. What will it feel like? The community will determine the culture of the space. We don't have to wait to build an advisory or user group to see who will participate in making the space culturally vibrant and economically sustainable. We have commitments now to a cultural core coalition. We reached out and got it done. We have a rich network of artists, educators, business leaders, and citizens from all over the Bay Area. We have about a dozen groups here listed. We anticipate over 7,000 patrons will attend just the LSF offerings, increasing our annual audience to over 12,000, assuming a 78% occupancy rate. We currently boast an occupancy of 85%. We haven't even estimated the number of participants that will enjoy the space when these groups begin calendaring their events in the 155 days available around LSF's regular programming. In addition to providing affordable space for small and diverse groups to rent, we will co-create, support, and incubate other groups. We will create programs together. You see on this list, I won't talk about all of them, but you see urban theater companies willing to come out to Livermore to share their work. Golden Thread Production focuses on the culture of the Middle East as it is expressed around the globe, and the award-winning African-American Shakespeare Company, which produces more than Shakespeare, including a wonderful musical, Cinderella. Local groups such as Livermore School of Dance, Hispanic Heritage Center, and Futures Explored, Inc., that offers production training for film and television to developmentally disabled adults, have all signed on to work with us.
What'll it feel like? It will feel welcoming to people of all ages. We have these glass garage doors that will open up, welcoming children in. We're going to set up a little art station in the lobby so that people can wander in and make some fairy masks or some pirate hats or something. Kids love pirates. It will be a casual space. Cowboy boots and blue jeans will be welcome. Think nachos and beer while you catch a show.
What is a black box theater? I've been asked that question a lot, so I've started to develop fact sheets on the subject. A black box is a simple structure with lighting and staging that is adaptable to a variety of performances. The black box was invented to be a space that is unique from a proscenium theater. So the Bankhead is a beautiful example of a proscenium theater. Playwrights who write for proscenium expect wing space and frequently a flyloft to accommodate the spectacle needs of their productions. Modern writers who write for black boxes want to eliminate or cross the line between performer and patron. They want the intimacy and flexibility that allows for a deeper communication and engagement. Here you see 3 possibilities. A black box set up in 3/4, one set up in arena, and one set up as a cabaret. Next slide. Oop, there we go. This is a ground plan of a 3/4 thrust with 160 seats in a 3,000 square foot space, which is what I think both proposals are roughly 3,000 square feet. This is likely to be the most popular setup for most theater companies. What a black box theater is not. So this is one of the differences that you get to weigh. A black box theater is not a setup where the chairs are all facing one wall and then there's a small rectangle to contain the performance. That proscenium setup works when it's in a proscenium theater that has offstage areas, wings, flyloft, etc. It is not a conference center or business center with light and airy walls and chandeliers. Theater and dance professionals will need to control the light, which you cannot do with it bouncing off white walls or casting chandelier shadows all over the faces of the performers. But most importantly, a conference center could require loadout after every performance. To make one profitable, they book a 9 a.m., a 2 p.m., and 8 p.m. We and our cultural core partners need to rehearse and perform in the building for several weeks. While we can rent periodically to a speaker or someone who would like to use the set that is in place, we can't be moving out every night in order to make that particular business model function.
What will we accomplish? Number 1, we'll honor the letter of intent of the Livermore Stockman Rodeo Association agreement. We have their endorsement. Number 2, we will fulfill the promise of the Arts Alive Cultural Arts Master Plan. Number 3, we'll increase educational outreach, internships, and youth classes. We are unique in the high quality of curriculum we create. LVPAC books producing arts groups to bring curriculum to their spaces. It's one of the ongoing collaborations we enjoy with the LVPAC staff. They bring the space and the money for startup and scholarships. We bring the trained teaching artists, the curriculum in alignment with Common Core in support of the school district. Number 4, we'll create a home for emerging production companies. And number 5, we will work synergistically with the Livermore Science and Society Center and the Downtown Livermore Merchants.
Tourism. We are already a tourism engine for this community. 39%, almost 40% of our patrons, our active patrons, live outside the Tri-Valley. We all know that Livermore is becoming the central hub of culture and entertainment for the entire Central Valley. LSF produces not just Shakespeare, and our team has extensive experience in contemporary plays, new work, diverse writers, and multimedia productions. I just did a show in Stockton that included live motion capture and animation as part of the live presentation. It was really exciting. We're going to do something here in Livermore that I don't believe any other city has done in such a beautiful way. People will come to Livermore and make the pilgrimage to the park that brings a diverse community together. LSF already has the relationships in place now to make this vision reality. What will we accomplish? LSF is uniquely qualified to provide integrated theater and literacy programming for children and adults. We have 14 years of experience with education programming, including our nationally recognized intern program. Education is an area where we collaborate with LVPAC. Our education numbers seem to be included in the LVPAC's numbers. We work together. After-school programs that we would like to expand into will serve families, including the neighborhood north of Railroad. It is literally across the street, within walking distance of these future ed programs and internships. There, 22% of the residents are living below the poverty level. We are uniquely qualified to offer an extension of our existing programming once we have a building in which to house these programs. We piloted an education program in the spring of 2015. In June, met with Kelly Bauer, superintendent, who asked us to bring the program to all of the second graders. We raised $40,000 and implemented the program by September. We get it done. Theater matters. This slide speaks to why we responded to the RFQ. It's an opportunity to create a community conversation. Theater matters because it's a chance for people to come together as a community, experience the lives of the characters, learn something new, and develop compassion. You can walk a mile in someone else's shoes through the theater. Theater allows you to feel for another person and hear their side of the story. You can learn as a community together, exploring new ideas on stage. And there's nothing like sharing a laugh in a live audience. Art is entertaining, but it's more than entertainment. How will we do it? Well, the process has begun by engaging a broad group of community in planning process and developing partnerships outlined in the proposal. The next step is winning the opportunity to enter into discussions with the City of Livermore. Then we flesh out our financial plan, which includes a capital campaign, grant writing, and continuing our research with some nonprofit loans and exploring other new funding mechanisms. A grassroots organization like ours may need more time than an organization with more deep pockets on the board, but by gathering broader support at lower levels, we will engage a broader portion of the community, and we will be stronger for it.
We are fiscally conservative, and we have been operating in the black for all 16 years of our existence. Our business plan was applied to our occupancy cost analysis right away. Before we even started, before we even broached this possibility with our board, Lisa and I needed to know that we could operate it without going into debt. Our business model is sound. 60% earned, 40% donated, and we apply 20% of our ticket income to operations. These figures are consistent with best practices in our industry. We would like to explore cost and revenue sharing with the city. We have the experience to be the city's site coordinator and concessionaires for the park proper, and would like to explore that with city staff if chosen. And fundraising, we're going to get there in a second.
So fundraising begins with research. We engaged a real estate consultant from NCCLF, the Northern California Community Loan Fund. We did a feasibility study on 10% of our patron list, and we tested the concept with some close donors. We've been working with Stephanie Kipple of NCCLF. We created an operating cost analysis, a business plan, ramping up programming over the course of 3 years, and a development budget, an ROM, rough order of magnitude budget to build the building itself. From this analysis, we determined that operating income, assuming 20% of ticket sales go to operating, 100% of rental income, 50% of concessions, and some allocation for work that generates income on the outdoor stage, that we could not only cover overhead, but also the addition of 1.5 staff members in the first year of operation. By year 3 of our business plan, when we have ramped up to full programming, we can add another full-time staff member. None of this factors in expected donations. There are a couple of different Shakespeare theaters that have gone into buildings in the last 5 years, and they each report the same statistic, an uptick of 20% in donations. But we are fiscally conservative, so we're not counting that. We know that we can operate the building.
So initially, we did a feasibility study. We have about 6,000 solid patrons in our database, and we did a screening of just 500 of them. And within that 500, there is giving capacity over the next 5 years of 23 million. That figure does not include the broad base of support from smaller gifts and crowdfunding. And then as a test, in the last 30 days, we approached some of our closest friends, and in less than 30 days, we have conditional pledges of 1.3 million.
Collaboration, we are really good at it, and we enjoy it. In addition to our cultural coalition, all of the major business leadership groups, as well as other organizations, have unified around this vision. You have seen the letters of support in your packet. These letters provide more than references for our skills. These groups have the business acumen needed. They offer expertise in regional marketing, business innovation, user experience design, commercial cultural partnerships, dance floors, and who are stakeholders in the development willing to advise LSF in order to guarantee a high quality, inclusive, and sustainable product. In addition to these business skills, the business skills, legal, accounting, capital campaign, human resources, and other skills brought to bear by our board, we have a wealth of skilled partners committed to working together with us. We are not standing here alone. We hope that we have demonstrated our vision, our commitment to the process, and the ability to get the job done. Katie and I, our board, and our partners believe that we are the best choice, and we want to work with you on this project. And we hope that you agree. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for this group? All right, thank you.
Sure. Now we'd like to call up representatives from the Livermore Science and Society Center, please.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you very much for the opportunity to respond to the RFQ for the Science Center. I'm Manya Lane. I'm part of the group that has formed the Livermore Science and Society Center, 501c3 nonprofit for this purpose. And we are really excited about this possibility. For some of us, it's an opportunity to give back to our community. Whoops, where is the, thank you. And in particular, to be part of a cultural core, bringing Livermore's heritage and its future together. You know, this is a unique opportunity we've talked about over the years to bring Livermore's science heritage into a more visible place, along with its ranching, its viticulture, and its cultural arts. One of the architects, Fogg, as you were introduced to earlier, found in a book an old picture. You can't see it too well in the white letters near the bottom of the photo. The Western Pacific Railroad Depot, Livermore, California, that was located just a few blocks from the Stockman's Park location. And they were able to draw a concept for a science center that has that same look, which is very pleasing, that will fit in very nicely into the desire to keep the cultural look and feel next to Blacksmith Square. Science centers can have a significant impact. By encouraging that natural curiosity in all of us, it is possible to change the course of a person's life. We live in a technological time. There's a lot of excitement about new technologies, such as CRISPR for gene editing, or one of the newest uses for programming lasers to keep birds away, scared out of the wineries, keep the birds away from the vineyards from eating the grapes prematurely. We hope to excite everyone about the wonders of science and engineering, to educate people about the way technology works in our everyday lives, to inspire more students to choose careers in the technical workforce, and to help all of us consider the societal implications of these new technology developments. Our team is ready to carry out this project for the city. Our board of directors currently has a wide range of technical experience, business experience, and project management experience constructing and operating large-scale cultural and technical facilities. Our advisory board is chosen from our stakeholders around the community, and we've added 2 people since the list that you have in the RFQ proposal. We've added Lynn Naylor from Innovation Tri-Valley and Linda Seaver from Lawrence Livermore Lab. Consultants and hires will be important to round out the team. So far, we have a financial consultant to help us with the financial feasibility and the capital fundraising plan, and a possible consultant for programming and exhibit design, Gyroscope Inc. in Oakland, which has some award-winning designs and projects for exhibits, including the San Jose Children's Discovery Museum. We've learned through this process of benchmarking that science centers are a community that help each other get started with lessons learned, with traveling exhibits. So we've joined the Association of Science Technology Centers, which is a very strong resource. Why Livermore for a science center? I've been told we're part of a trend towards local science centers as opposed to large exploratorium type facilities. Livermore's science and engineering culture certainly deserves to be highlighted. More Tri-Valley residents will visit a science center if it's nearby. It may help our local technical companies who all seem to have workforce pipeline as a very high priority. We have the demographics for a strong volunteer corps, and that's important to any science center business model. Internship opportunities will help this really be a community center, and it will add to our reputation in helping attract residents and companies who see a technical peer community here. So why downtown? Being in our vibrant downtown, where people already congregate, will make a science center more successful than elsewhere, similar to iGate finding it was more lively when they moved downtown. Economically, a science center adds to the mix of downtown businesses. As was said, there are so many neighborhoods within walking distance of the Stockman's Park location that we hope to attract. We do see ourselves as part of a STEM ecosystem, partnering with a wide variety of our local organizations for things like summer programs, for special technology events. And these groups are already coming up with ideas and saying to us, how exciting. There is a very unique synergy to be able to hold related performances and speakers at the Black Box Theater. And as a core piece, we'll use the lab's Discovery Center model and schedule classroom visits each morning. Accessibility for all is a foundational goal for this science center. Most science centers end up exceeding their attendance projections, and based on credible benchmarks, we have a goal of 50,000 visitors per year. This is similar to an exploratorium satellite called Helix that was in downtown Los Altos for just a one-year grant. They had 50,000 people in the year 2014 in a space smaller than what we're planning. There are over 3,000 attendees at the LVPAC Innovation Fair in April. Some from communities outside the Tri-Valley, some who told us that they had never even been to Livermore before. Our concept is a 2-story building that shares event space with an adjacent restaurant during our off hours and entices people into the building with some displays on the ground floor and a gift shop and then has the main exhibits on the second floor of the building, about 6,000 square feet for that main exhibit space. Interactive, hands-on exhibits are what will make the Science Center fun for everyone. The idea is to have a rotating primary theme, a leading-edge topic like drone technology that people express interest in, and we hope to unfold the topic in a pathway-type experience as you go through the facility, gaining appreciation and wonder for the topic. To have something for all age groups, and really importantly, to gain experience starting this year with pop-up exhibits, so we get feedback now and get experience with what really works well. We have one data point. We went public at the Innovation Fair with a booth, and the water percolation experiment is a good example of what we're proposing. The water percolation experiment was something where kids could turn the valves, get the water going, predict what would happen with different size aggregate and different columns, and then be able to discuss with both them and their parents the implications, the dependence that we have on groundwater storage in our local area, which results from percolation through the underground. There are a daunting list of other possible themes. The drone technology, healthcare technologies has multiple options all by itself. Autonomous vehicles, genetic engineering. Just a few examples. Fortunately, there are a wealth of benchmark science centers and resources. Here is a list of those we've come across already, some through our travels, some through referrals, and we're continuing to get more referrals from people in LARPD, Visit Tri-Valley, and the Exploratorium's Global Studios branch. The draft timetable is a high-level version of what's in our proposal document. This is TBD, to be refined with the city. It does assume a restaurant partner, and it shows the intention to have pop-up exhibits and outreach as an ongoing activity. Similarly, we have a capital fundraising spreadsheet with numbers that will be refined through discussion with the city and with the developer. The capital fundraising plan does assume a combination of naming rights, donations from corporations and individuals, foundations, and grants. We have a few leads on these that we'll be able to pursue once we have approval to go forward. Certainly, fundraising will be our biggest challenge. The business model for operations we see as a relatively low risk because the projection for operations expenses and forecast are similar to benchmark science centers. The Helix Science Center in downtown Los Altos, as an example, that does assume significant volunteer effort and a lean staff, and there are a breakdown of projected expenses behind this. Similarly, fees for attendance have to be very low in order to keep the Science Center accessible for all. So income from attendance and memberships typically don't cover the operating costs, and we do assume sponsorship for exhibits, income from a gift shop. Other paid attractions like the San Jose Tech Museum has a virtual reality exhibit, and they charge $5 for that exhibit. This is a summary of the proposal that we have submitted in response to the RFQ. We thank you for your consideration of our proposals. We're ready to go to work for you and with you to bring this project to fruition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lane. Appreciate that. Okay.
So that concludes our presentations, and back to the council for discussion and then public comment.
Okay, back to the council. At this point, before we open up the public hearing, are there any questions or comments? Questions for the applicants at this point? No? right. Oh, got a couple more here. All right, oops. Stand set up here. Okay, very interesting proposals, all of them. Good information, certainly food for thought. Okay, we have a lot of interest in this tonight. We have 40 cards, and there's a lot of people that are interested in this, and I think that's all good. So with that, I will ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Once again, we want to move this along as quickly as we can, so no applause, hoo-ha, yay, or etc. And with that, I'm going to open it up. First speaker is Patricia Monroe. Second is Miranda Monroe. Third is Carl Wente. Ms. Monroe.
Good evening, and yes, we're related. Her and me, that is. Good evening, Mayor Marchand, council members, and city staff. My name is Patricia Monroe, and I'm here to speak in support of the Unity Vision proposal and LSF's Black Box Theater proposal. I'm here to urge you to reject the LVPAC proposal. The contrast between the complete Unified Vision proposal and LVPAC's proposal is stark. City staff developed the RFQ from the city's downtown plan. Only one of the proposals before you actually follows these directions, that of the Unity Vision Group. Their proposal separates cultural and commercial zones and gives both the arts and science carefully designated designed spaces that meets the needs of the various groups using them. These spaces are separate, yet connected, enabling different groups to work together collaboratively in planning and implementing programs. By contrast, the LVPAC proposal shows little respect for the city, residents, or either arts or science, mashing all elements in one building rather than in the zones that are part of the downtown plan and RFQ. The theater proposals are markedly different as well. LVPAC's Black Box Theater is nothing of the kind. It is twice the size called for, with a fixed stage and the seating, that is, with a fixed stage and retractable seating. This is not what the RFQ asked for. I am honored to sit on LSF's board of directors. The reason I accepted the invitation and continue to serve are the same reasons that make LSF the best candidate for this project. Those reasons are a compelling vision, and that vision has existed since the very beginning. I've been on the board for around a dozen years, and the vision has moved forward slowly and surely. Collaborative community building spirit. That was what attracted me first and foremost. That still is what you saw today. Fiscal prudence. It's astonishing. It's rare to see an artistic company with the vision that this company has, and at the same time, the financial prudence to keep it running in the black for 16 years. And unshakable integrity. These qualities are at the core of the organization. They will enable LSF to successfully realize the proposal that now sits before you. Those values, conservative financial planning and integrity, inform the LSF proposal, which is carefully thought out with regard to use of space, design, and phased-in building plan. The two proposals are radically different in design and in response to the city's RFQ. Only one meets the criteria set forth by the city. Only one fulfills the collaborative vision that resulted in Stockman's Park. I urge you to choose the Unified Visions proposal in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you. And Miranda Monroe, and I certainly appreciate the effort that you took to come tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Marchand, council members, and city staff. My name is Miranda Monroe. I grew up in Livermore and am raising my children here. I'm speaking on behalf of myself, my children, and my husband, Daniel Kastner, one of the founders of Robot Garden. I took dance classes at Dance Boutique and was a member of the same 4-H club that I now lead. My father is a physicist at Livermore Lab, and I was exposed to the community's STEM offerings of the time. Before moving back to Livermore, I apprenticed with Moving Arts Dance and with Livermore Shakespeare Festival. Growing up, I experienced a strong and functional community that supported families, the arts, and science. That community motivated me and my husband to relocate here when we became parents. I'm here to speak in support of the Unity Vision for Stockman's Park. I and my entire family is strongly opposed to the LVPAC proposal for this space. It is vitally important to have specialized spaces for the performing arts, for community science development, and for small business. The Unity Vision requires required representatives of all three communities to collaborate in developing a combined proposal for 3 distinct spaces. The LVPAC proposal makes a mockery of both the unified vision and the city's direction. The so-called black box theater is a small-scale bankhead combined with a high school gymnasium. Dressing rooms and lobby space, none of the spaces are adequate. I'm disgusted with the idea that we would consider this proposal in light of the history of LVPAC in operating the bankhead. Over time, they have discouraged community youth and arts development with increasing prices and changing definitions of which community companies are eligible for discounts. They have demonstrated that they lack the collaborative ability shown by the Unity Vision proposal and that they don't understand the needs demanded of each of the 3 spaces. In contrast to the LVPAC proposal, the Unity Vision demonstrates an understanding of the community wants and needs and the collaborative ability to realize their proposal. I strongly encourage you to vote in favor of the Unity Vision proposal.
Thank you very much. Carl Winty, Michael Ferrucci, Beth Trutner, and Laura Batty.
Honorable Mayor, Council, thank you all for what you do. Staff, the hard work you put in. Appreciate you all. Those in uniform, I salute you. Thank you, sir. Unify, 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 bring together. I'm so happy and proud the process is moving forward. Fundamentally, the fact that we're talking about it, it looks like 2, the Science Center and Mr. Madden unopposed, we have it there, and we're just looking at the other one. So the collaborative nature I've seen out of the unified side versus the other side, I celebrate that. That said, I celebrate what the LVPAC has done and has brought to the community as well. That said, I think diversity and competition is a good thing, and I think we all agree on that. Speaking to my generation about this and talking it through, they tend to agree, let's have diversity, diversity of what we're going to have there, diversity of the acts that are coming through, and it's not competing. Both sides have a lot of money to raise. Like the LVPAC has a lot of money to raise just to keep this thing going and churning, and I so hope and will do everything in my power to have that continue and be there, but having other people come to play to put on different acts, put on different things. Diversity, diversity, diversity. So the LVPAC has their hands full. Even Mr. Kennison said, I'm worried about this proposal given the magnitude of what we have on our plate right now just to make sure that this thing remains successful. Adding more for just this sake of operational overhead and operational efficiency, I'm not sure it's the reason to do it. Plus, the unification and collaboration is a key piece of this, right? Bringing people together, and I'm not seeing it as much on the other side. And the other side is driven, you know, there's 2 people at the top of the chain of command, and we've seen, Mr. Spadowski, you tried to get in there. The rest of the board members, you tried to speak to the LVPAC board. Half the board members didn't even know that you made the request because of the centralized chain of command that are non-collaborative. So I want to be collaborative. I want to make Livermore the best place possible, and I know the majority of people behind want that same thing as well. I think the unified proposal makes more sense. It does, as I understand it, more in line with the RFQ or the outline of the RFQ that's there. That said, as Mr. Madden said, he's sort of been away and watching. He's like, we should celebrate. We should celebrate the progress, the process. First time up here, what is good government but a process of the people, for the people, by the people, to the republic for which it stands. Good government is the people and the process that's moving it forward. So I think the unified theory, and I know from personal standpoint that Lisa Tromovich runs a great organization. I interface on a business level with them. 16 years in the black. They have operational synergies that will come into this too, but fundamentally my core says diversity and competition, good thing. They both got to raise a lot of money. Are they going to be coming after the same big donors? Probably, but fundamentally that's okay so long as those big donors want to continue to keep their money in Livermore, to celebrate the arts, to enhance the arts, and to make it a better place. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for the process. Staff, I know a lot goes into all of this. I salute you in what you do. Cheers to Livermore.
Thank you, Mr. Winty. Michael Ferrucci, Beth
Michael
Trutner,
Ferrucci,
Laura
508 South Livermore. Good evening, Mayor Marchand, city staff. Great job. Carl's not even Italian, and he's moving his hands like that. Have to make him an honorary Italian. I have to confess that I came unprepared this evening. I didn't have the time to look at the staff reports, so this was a wonderful opportunity for me to listen to both sides, and I have to commend both sides, all the sides around me. waiting in line out in front. I got here at like 6 o'clock, so I was early, and I was like right in the middle of both sides. And quite frankly, it's not like two sides. I mean, we're all interested in art. We're interested in theater. We're interested in music. We're interested in doing the best thing for Livermore. And I don't discount your job or relish your job, that you have to make a decision tonight on these two plans, and they both sound wonderful. And the words of Rodney King come to mind. Can't we all just get along? And because there's so much valuable information on both sides. But if I had to make a decision tonight, based upon the presentations that I heard and what I was able to read today on the internet, LVPAC would be my choice at this point. And that's not because of any other reason other than the fact that I've done whatever research I've done. I've had a tremendous experience in the music industry, in production and presentations. I know that both of these organizations rely on volunteers, and they're going to rely on contributions from donors. Volunteers, I mean, myself, based on results I've helped facilitate in one way or another, the International Guitar Night with Brian Gore. I was the first person to bring him to Livermore. Same with Muriel Anderson, Doc Watson, Leo Kotke. I understand what it takes to present. I understand what it takes to produce. I owned a recording studio for many years, and I have to give credit to Mike's father. I did most of his commercials for about 7 or 8 years for the CBS Sports Quiz. So I'm involved in production, and I think experience is absolutely critical and paramount. And I see that LVPAC has done a tremendous job what they're doing. I see the Bothwell being a jumping off point to a black box. I see the black box jumping off point to the bankhead. I think you need to consider that. The presentation from the Science Society, my wife's a science teacher. I'm a science graduate. I worked at the lab. A kids museum would be great, and I like the idea that we had with the percolation is good. Let me cross out some more things. I'm not clear on Livermore Shakespeare financials, and I did talk to Lisa earlier today, and it seems like there's some of that information missing from the presentation that you have in your packets. So that said, tonight I would make one decision, but if you guys come together, I'd make another decision. We'll see. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrucci. Beth Trutner, Laura Batty, and Michael Rice.
Good evening, Mayor Marchand, council members, and city staff. I love that there's so much passion around this, and I applaud you for the process. It's been terrific. Laura Batty's the current chair of Livermore Shakespeare Festival. I'm the former chair, and together we're here representing our entire board of directors of the Livermore Shakespeare Festival. We enthusiastically support LSF's proposal for the Black Box Theater. As individuals, we bring to the project a broad range of talent and professional expertise as outlined in the RFQ, including digital and print marketing, education, fundraising, community development, real estate, tax, accounting, law, and human resources. As a group, we have all this expertise just on our board. Doesn't count the volunteers, former board members who are also just integral to how we operate. So these skills together make us individually strong, but our ability to work collaboratively with Lisa Tromovich, Katie Marcel, and our RFQ partners makes us a force for creative yet prudent growth and change. Since our reorganization in 2006, our board of directors has worked with Lisa and Katie to develop our core purpose, that is, using professional theater to create community, celebrate the human spirit, educate, and entertain. These objectives inform all aspects of our work and have enabled LSF to grow in a steady and responsible way. Our audience is drawn not only from Livermore, but from throughout the Bay Area. Our college apprentice program has evolved into a nationally recognized step to a career in professional theater. With focus and determination, we developed the celebrated So Wise, So Young program. Our vision was to enable youth to speak of Shakespeare, theater, and language with authority and with love. Lisa and Katie spearheaded curriculum and outreach to the school district. The board assisted with the outreach and defining funding sources. The result, a remarkable course of instruction and experiential learning that now reaches every second grade student in Livermore's public schools.
Our board will bring that same passion, expertise, prudence, determination, and collaborative spirit to making the flexible Black Box Theater a reality. We recognize the Black Box Theater is a larger project than others we have tackled, and the project will, we know, have its challenges. But as a group, and with the talents and skills of former board members and volunteers, we're confident in our ability to succeed. In short, the LSF board and staff work together, and we work hard to make our visions reality. We are ready to take this next step to oversee the building and management of an affordable Black Box Theater, of which our community can be proud, and which many smaller local companies will be able to perform. We hope you will give LSF the opportunity to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Rice, David Rounds, Chris Chandler.
Thank you, esteemed council, staff, and to all you wonderful, smart, intelligent people out here. I appreciate the opportunity to be up here. I am an actor, teacher. I'm here representing Livermore Shakespeare Festival. One of the big talking points that they brought up was collaboration. I want to read a letter to you. Actually, I want to read part of a letter to you from an organization that looks to collaborate with Livermore Shakespeare Festival. It starts, Honorable Council members, this is a letter in support of Lisa Tromovich and Livermore Shakespeare Festival in regards to their application for downtown core proposal. African American Shakespeare Company is an award-winning theater company that has been producing works in the San Francisco Bay Area for 23 years. In a recent survey with Wolf Brown Consultants, demonstrated that we are the only theater company in the Bay Area that attracts the majority of African American community audience members. African American Shakespeare recognizes the unique opportunity of collaborating with organizations such as Livermore Shakespeare Festival. And we hope to be a part of this wonderful opportunity as many of our audiences travel as far as Sacramento to our productions because they are unable to get comparable experiences like we offer in their vicinity. Lisa Tromovich is a dynamic woman who is capable of bringing all facets of these communities together. I have recognized her mentoring for over 16 years where we first met, and she continues to have an active participation with the Shakespeare Theater Association group since 1998. Her relationships with many cultural arts organizations can be leveraged to make sure that wonderful and exciting programming continues to be expressed here in Livermore. As for myself, I came out here in 2002 after grad school, auditioned for Lisa Tromovich, and she hired me immediately. I'm not sure you know how significant that is for a Black man in the industry. She has hired me to teach at her company. I don't know if you recognize how important that is for me as a Black man in this industry. She has hired me to teach at the University of the Pacific, and later I went on to teach at the University of San Francisco. I don't know if you understand how important that is to me as a Black man in this industry. In this industry, I appreciate people who take action. By the industry, I mean the theater industry, because the theater industry can be an industry of talk. Lisa is a woman of action, and I am indebted to her. I love her for all that she has done for me and for the arts community, and I seriously hope you take that into consideration. Thank you.
Mr. Rice, thank you very much. David Rounds, Chris Chandler, David Kent. Mr. Rounds.
Mayor, council, staff, thank you for the opportunity to talk. Lisa Tromovich, Katie Marcel with Shakespeare, Scott Kennison, and Chris Carter with LV PAC, and Alan Byrne and his team should all be commended for working so hard to bring their ideas here tonight. I do have a couple of financial items that stand out, so I'm not going to talk about the theater, and I hope the council can address them with the groups that are presenting tonight. There's a significant difference in the projected capital cost for the Black Box Theater between the LV PAC bid and the bid for the Livermore Shakespeare Shakespeare Festival. The LV PAC proposal shows a cost of $13.5 million, while the Shakespeare proposal is for $5 million. After reading the proposal again, I see that the LV PAC proposal is for a complete operation. a building, theater, lobby, green rooms, public restrooms, ticket office, second floor office spaces, etc. The Shakespeare Festival proposal is just for a theater shell, fixtures and furniture inside of an existing building. For the Shakespeare Festival to work, someone, the city, has to build a building with restrooms, elevators, lobby, box office, green rooms, and etc. in what the Shakespeare Association proposal calls a multi-purpose pavilion. Who will be paying the millions of dollars necessary to build this multi-purpose pavilion? The Shakespeare proposal for operating expenses also seems out of whack. It contains no detail to explain. According to city staff, the Livermore Shakespeare Festival said that this information needed to be kept confidential. Why? Who knows the expense detail for the Shakespeare proposal? This should have been shared with the council and public before tonight. All we know now is that they say their operating expense will be $83,000. How are they going to cover utilities and property taxes and repair and maintenance and all of the other itemized expenses that are detailed in the competing LV PAC proposal? On top of this, the Livermore Shakespeare Festival proposal assumes that they borrow $2.5 million for construction. Interest for $2.5 million is about $150,000 a year. How do they pay this expense? The LV PAC proposal shows that they have the fundraising resources and expertise and existing infrastructure and expertise to be successful. Unlike the Shakespeare Festival, which is a relatively small organization, with just 3 employees occupying a small office space in the 2nd Street Mall and some rental storage space. They do a great job with this staff and with their budget for the performances that they do. But I question if they have the experience, wherewithal, and understanding of what it takes to bring something like a black box theater and an activated Stockman's Park to a successful completion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rounds. Chris Chandler, David Kent, Dave Finster.
Good evening, Mayor Marchand, council, and staff. I'm Chris Chandler with the Livermore Valley Wine Growers Association. I looked through the pages and pages and pages of both proposals, and I can appreciate that both parties submitting proposals invested obvious time, energy, and resources. I'd like to take a step back, however, and specifically address an area that I think is of the utmost importance to this community, and in particular, this project. Collaboration. Only one of the 2 applicants reached out to the wine growers, and that would be the Unified Group. Representatives from Livermore Shakespeare Festival reached out as a part of this RFP process to understand what the wine growers' uses might be for the space downtown. They also reached out to tap into our expertise regarding events, governmental permitting, and requirements, wineries' interests, and their goals. Not only did they reach out once, they circled back 2 more times to continue the dialogue. They're serious, enthusiastic, and professional in this endeavor. These collaborative qualities are very important to the wine growers and are inherent in the leadership of the Livermore Shakespeare Festival. The Livermore Valley Wine Growers Association supports the collaborative and unifying efforts, tone, and specific plan of the Unified Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chandler. David Kent, Dave Finster, Beth Wilson.
Good evening. Well, we're a step closer to making Livermore the wine country destination that will delight our residents and visitors alike. I'd really like to thank city staff and the council for getting us this far. There is a real excitement building over the expansion of Blacksmith Square. New artisan restaurants, tasting rooms, art galleries. These are things that really are exciting the citizens, and all I can say is how quickly can we get going. There's also been an amazing evolution in the Science Center. When we were talking a year ago, 18 months, there was talk of a museum, something very different than kind of what it's evolved to, which is a STEM resource learning center that can actually improve the performance of area schools. And that will help local companies attract and retain workforce families in the near term. And ultimately, it will improve the skills and capacities for innovation of the future workforces. So I think there are some amazing things happening on the Science Center front. It is also encouraging. I mean, I see some upset that there's 2 bids for a black box theater. I'm encouraged that there is a substantial and growing interest in this theater, and that it got 2 responses with 2 very substantial and different donor bases. That is an opportunity, I think, to bring things together. In the early days of the outreach, I went to LVPAC directors and talked about Lisa's vision for a theater, be privately funded, built behind the so-called cultural building that was in the draft concept plans, and it would benefit LVPAC and the Livermore Shakes and the other resident companies. Joan asked me point blank if Darcy and I were rolling over our financial pledge from the regional theater to this black box theater, and I said yes, and I hope you do the same so that we can build it. And that is an offer that we still have. If the city decides that LVPAC is the best builder of a black box theater, a real black box theater, not the McCracken Conference Center that mixes all the commercial and civic uses together, our money will be there. And I hope that the funders, the donors that are behind the LVPAC proposal will also put their money in, because that is really the true indication. If you want to collaborate, you know, if LVPAC, Scott and Chris are great, but so are Lisa and Katie. They're both very competent people. They should be working together. I think Livermore Shakes has the best proposal, and I think by pooling those resources, we will get this black box theater built in the community soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Dave Finster, Beth Wilson, Donna Blevins. By the way, great rodeo this last weekend. Well done.
Thank you very much. Well, my name's Dave Finster. I'm the current president of the Livermore Stockmen's Rodeo Association. And I'm here on behalf on the Rodeo Association to support the Unified Group's plan for downtown development, to have the Livermore Shakespeare Festival, Livermore Science Society Center, and Red Bear exclusive negotiating rights with the city for their portions of the cultural core that will surround our Stockman's Park. Their vision is aligned what we saw, what we envisioned would surround Stockman's Park when we made this agreement. This would include restaurants, small businesses, an extension of Blacksmith Square, and of course, the Black Box Theater. So I said I was going to keep this short tonight, but as I've said before, you guys aren't going to make everybody happy with the decisions that you make. But like Stockman's Park, almost everyone that I've talked to, and I've got to talk to a lot of people this last year and a half, 2 years, this unified vision is what I think the majority of the people would like to see happen. So if we could, let's keep this ball rolling and get our downtown going. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Finster. Beth Wilson, Donna Blevins, Tamara Royce.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Beth Wilson, and I'd like to urge your support of the Livermore Shakespeare Festival's plan for a black box theater. Over many years, Livermore Shakes and Lisa Tromovich have shown they are brilliant, creative, and ethical community members. The Black Box Theater fills a need not only for them and for other local performance groups, but for all of us in the community. LVPAC has also submitted an RFQ. As LVPAC already runs the Bankhead Theater and the Bothwell Arts Center, having them also run the Black Box Theater would create a monopoly on public performing arts facilities. I believe this is not a good idea. The LVPAC proposal also doesn't meet the city's direction, as has been mentioned earlier. Lisa and LSF have offered to LVPAC board members to collaborate, but they've been rebuffed.
I worry about an organization that has closed board meetings, as Councilmember Spadowski pointed out last week, and doesn't even understand that this lack of transparency and lack of integrity is a problem. On the other hand, the integrity of LSF throughout its many years in Livermore has been shown to be impeccable. Please vote in favor of the Livermore Shakespeare Festival plan. Thank you to council and staff for all your work.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Donna Blevins, Tamara Royce, Darcy Kent.
Mr. Mayor, everyone, I'm Donna Blevins, and I'm speaking on behalf of Livermore Shakespeare. I joined Livermore Shakespeare 15 years ago when I performed in a one-act play at the Downtown Yoga Studio in Pleasanton. I was Bridget the maid, and I still remember my lines because I didn't have any lines. But I have lines now. And I bring this up to show how innovative and creative Lisa was to move from Downtown Yoga Studio to where we are today. Since that time, I've done a little bit of everything. I've toured interns downtown Livermore. I have cut out crowns for second graders to color. And for 9 years, I have adapted scripts from books for the library collaboration Livermore Reads Together. Since that time, Lisa has also collaborated and supported and dedicated her time to the community of Livermore. She has partnered with the library, the Vine, Retzloff, Concannon, Wente, Swirl, Bankhead, Bothwell, and Sandia National Labs Women's Committee, where she was a guest speaker. So she is very focused, very dedicated, but beyond anything else, what I want to speak to is the level of integrity and respect that I have come to know with this organization that is unparalleled with any other organization I have been involved with. Lisa shows respect to everyone, volunteers, apprentices, production crew, actors, the audience. Everyone is important. Everyone is a contributor. There is such joy that I have experienced, not only all of us involved in it, but the joy when you look out at the audience and watch the children, when you watch the audience members, and if you will, there's a certain magic to sitting out in that vineyard on a warm summer evening, and I'm proud to be part of this organization. Thank you very much.
You didn't mention that you've also shared a black box theater stage with the mayor. Tamara Royce, Darcy Kent, Kathy Streeter.
Hi, good evening. I wanted to say, first of all, that I am a proud member of LVPAC and have enjoyed its offerings as a member for the last several years, and really appreciate how they have enhanced my life. I reviewed both RFQ submissions, and based on what I read, I think that LVPAC is the obvious choice to build and operate the Black Box Theater. LVPAC has a proven track record of raising funds for arts facilities and programs in our community, developing a theater, operating 2 facilities, and partnering with diverse groups in the community to further the arts. Financial considerations strongly favor the selection of LVPAC. They have laid out a comprehensive construction and operations budget. LSF has failed to make their figures public. The community is entitled to review their projections and comment on them, and I find it troubling that they have kept this essential information confidential. From the information that's been available, it appears that they are only offering to build the stage and seating for the Black Box Theater and not the pavilion, which provides the supportive infrastructure for use of the theater. It seems that LSF plans to have the city build and pay for the pavilion with a cost and revenue sharing agreement that will be negotiated. When I attended the public hearings on the downtown development, the group advocating for the Black Box Theater and Science Center, they were very clear that no public funds would be required to finance and operate these facilities. LSF's proposal seems to require public funding. I don't think this is something that the citizens and council prefer, nor is it necessary. LVPAC is not seeking public financing of any sort, and in fact has the benefit of 11 years of experience operating and programming the Bankhead and the Bothwell. It's profitable and has a large existing staff and infrastructure, which creates operating efficiencies. LVPAC plans to obtain community input and create an advisory planning committee to ensure that the programming of the Black Box Theater is diverse and satisfies community needs. It has suggested a range of possible uses for the space, including the conference opportunities, a wine tasting collective, history and science exhibits, a rooftop garden with an educational component, and more. Under LVPAC's direction, the Black Box Theater will be more than a performance space, in contrast to what LSF is proposing, and will provide a widely used facility that will engage the broader community, which is good for Livermore. The community wants the Black Box Theater to succeed. I think all the elements that go into making it a success point directly to LVPAC. I hope you will focus on its excellent management team and outstanding record of success, as well as its comprehensive proposal, and choose LVPAC for this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Royce. Darcy Kent, Kathy Streeter, Jay Davis.
Darcy had to go home.
Oh, okay. Kathy Streeter, Jay Davis, Carly Taruya.
Hello, Council, again. I've been here before. My name's Kathy Streeter. I've lived in Livermore since 1964. I'm a retired banker. I'm chair of Friends of Bankhead and Bothwell, and I'm treasurer for Encore Players. I'm not going to point fingers at anybody or say anything other than the LVPAC proposal is not for a black box theater. When I read the Shakespeare proposal, I was blown away by the competence, creativity, enthusiasm, thoroughness, dedication, and abilities of the folks who put together that proposal. I always felt that Livermore is a hotbed of arts, culture, and talent, but the creativity and dedication on display from an already proven entity is way beyond my expectations. Friends of Bankhead and Bothwell and the Encore Players enthusiastically support and encourage you to choose the Shakespeare proposal. Now, I have another quick statement to make from Paul Brown, who was unable to come here, and he's also a member of Friends of Bankhead and Bothwell. He says, I am Paul Brown, and I've been resident of Livermore for 50 years. I find it at first amusing, but on second thought, really outrageous that some people who have been opposed to the proposed downtown development have jumped on the bandwagon and now want to manage the Black Box Theater that Shakespeare Associates originally proposed. It's easy to connect the dots, and I'm sure the council is well aware of the personalities involved. A question you should ask is what will be the long-term sense of commitment by either party who is making a proposal tonight? The party that supported your downtown plan from the beginning, or the party that has fought you all the way? I think the answer is easy. That from Paul Brown. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Streeter. Jay Davis, Carly Taruya, Tom Ramos.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, staff, I was asked by Alan Frank to read a letter to you. Alan could not be here tonight, so I'm going to give you his comments, and then, if I manage my time well, a little bit of mine. This is from Alan. I'm a founder of the Livermore Valley Opera, past president of the Livermore Amador Symphony, supporter of the Bankhead Theater, member of Friends of the Bankhead and Bothwell. I've had the experience of working with many theaters throughout the Bay Area as a performer, production manager, and producer. I wholeheartedly support the Shakespeare Associates proposal for a black box theater in downtown on two grounds. My first consideration is the longtime success of the Shakespeare Festival, the quality and dedication of their team. Over the past 15 years, the association has grown to become a treasured component of Livermore's artistic community. They've demonstrated a well-managed, capable, and successful functioning organization. My second and overriding consideration is with this proposal, the Black Box Theater will become the principal endeavor of Shakespeare's Associates. As such, it would not be subject to conflicting priorities of a much larger organization. My experience is that independent theaters are not bogged down by the bureaucracy and return on investment needs of a larger organization. The Black Box Theater is a venue for small, intimate, often developmental productions. They require a very different technical and economic environment than is offered by a larger theater. I urge you to support the Shakespeare Associates proposal. My own comments on this are pretty simple. Tonight, you've seen a very stark difference between two proposals. In fact, it couldn't be starker. The Livermore Shakespeare Group has shown you what a producing company can do. A mix of intelligence, emotion, arts, and commitment to, I think, an endeavor that would excite the whole community. The LV PAC proposal is pretty much a retread of a presenting organization's business plan, made worse in this case by it's not only a matter of renting the talent, but also trying to rent out what looks like the old high school gymnasium. So I think this choice is pretty easy for you to make. I certainly encourage you to support Lisa and her crew. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Carly Taruya, Tom Ramos, Clark Streeter.
Good evening, Mayor Marchand, council members, and city staff. My name is Carly Taruya, and I am a college apprentice with Livermore Shakespeare. I grew up here in Livermore and have been heavily involved in the arts for my entire life. I participated in Livermore Shakespeare's high school internship program twice, and during my time there, I was given both leadership roles and the opportunity to work as a team with other artists. One example of this would be when I became the soundboard operator for the 2016 season. This experience taught me how to be a proactive problem solver, taking initiative when incidents arose, while also allowing me to work closely with members of the design team to create an enjoyable experience for our audience members. My time at Livermore Shakespeare and the lessons I learned there helped me gain admission to my dream college, the University of Southern California. Livermore Shakespeare offers educational opportunities unlike any other performing arts program in Livermore. LSF doesn't just bring in shows for students to watch, but allows them to participate in the entire process of bringing a show to life, from conception to closing night. Watching this process firsthand has shown me the amount of organization it takes to create a production from scratch. It is immensely difficult to lead a team of actors, designers, and managers. I've watched Lisa and Katie do this year after year with grace and success, and I count myself extremely lucky to get to learn from them. Additionally, Livermore Shakespeare has opened my eyes to the talent we have here in the Bay Area. It wasn't until I came to Livermore Shakespeare that I realized how strong the Bay Area theater community is and how important it is that Livermore remain a strong member of it. With a background in both dance and theater, I can say that Livermore Shakespeare's design of the Black Box Theater offers the most useful space for the widest variety of performances. The ease with which the space can be transformed will make it useful to many different groups, giving a space for new artists to create and leading to more original productions being born right here in Livermore. Finally, Livermore Shakespeare is doing important work to educate the younger members of our community. This past year, I was the college pen pal to a second grade class at my alma mater, Rancho Las Positas Elementary School. I got to watch my students participate in Livermore Shakespeare's So Wise, So Young program. The students had a blast, and I was proud to hear them describe Shakespeare as fun. I hope that one day the students will be able to express their newfound love of the performing arts in a space that is designed to inspire creativity. Livermore Shakespeare has been working for years to create productions with local talent, while also educating youth of all ages about the world of theater and giving them the skills they need to succeed in the professional world. I hope you will give Livermore Shakespeare the chance to continue to create in this town that I'm proud to call home. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taruya. Tom Ramos, Clark Streeter, Dale Kay.
Mayor, City Council, I'm Tom Ramos. Now look, I know this is hard to believe, but judging from my youthful looks, but I'm actually a citizen of this town for the last 37 years. And a few years ago, I started up a program in a very modest amount of money in a highly competitive field. And the program started to build, and we started to enjoy some success. And as we got more successful after a number of years, I actually started another program and then another program, the 3 programs. And it was very competitive, and it was tough, and we had rough goings. And regardless of how much experience I had, unforeseen things would come up. But I would we would pull through the new members of the new programs and let them grow, mature, and they became successful. Eventually, we even twice, a president of the United States benefited from analysis and went into the White House. It was a great success. Now, the reason I'm bringing up this point is we seem to be in a similar situation here where we've enjoyed a really successful Bankhead Theater coming up, invigorating our downtown Livermore. And I cannot emphasize enough that as we go and we start new endeavors, how incredibly important it is to be able to use experience to leverage our experience to help out the new members as they grow. As Scott brought out when he was talking about his proposal, the ability to leverage what we've learned from the Bankhead into the Black Box Theater. I cannot overemphasize that enough, how important that is, how important I found it to be in my own experiences. And we are, but let's face it, we are going to run into rough spots with the Black Box Theater. Unforeseen things will come up, and we will have to leverage, we'll have to use every trick in the book we have to make things run smooth and for us to grow and to provide a really good atmosphere for our community. I've heard some comments about the passion and everything with the Livermore Shakespeare Festival, no doubt about it, but anyone who's ever been to the Bankhead and seen Scott would ever doubt his passion for that facility and for making Livermore a highly successful center of arts. I have no doubt about his passion to make the Black Box work. And so I highly recommend approving the LVPAC proposal. As important, it'll the best chance we have for the success for our community and to make everything go. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos. Clark Streeter, Dale Kay, Kelly Cousins.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Clark Streeter. I live at 457 Tyler Avenue in Livermore. I'm the president of Encore Players, and I'm speaking on behalf of that group. We have been in existence for about 3 years and have produced half a dozen plays and readings during that time. We have also given a number of improvisation and acting classes. I'm speaking tonight in favor of the Black Box Theater as proposed by the Unified Group, which I believe to be a superior proposal for several reasons. Although the designs proposed by the Unified Group and LVPAC appear at first glance to be very similar, there are many important differences. The most important difference, I think, is a matter of intent and not just design. LVPAC proposal to, quote, moves beyond just being a theater and performance venue to becoming a flexible, environmentally sustainable, multi-use space. While the Unified Group proposal states a black box theater is a simple structure with lighting and staging that are adaptable to a variety of performances. I've had some experience working in both types of venues over the years, and I've formed the opinion that it is easier to adapt a black box theater space to other uses than it is to adapt a multi-use space to a theatrical production. For example, using a black box for meetings involves simply not using some of its capabilities, such as the lighting and amplification, whereas performing in a multi-use space often means temporarily bringing in all these things to the venue. That's just one example, and frankly, that's an understatement. Thank you for your attention, and I please support the Unified Group's proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Streeter. Dale Kay, Kelly Cousins, Gabriella Bjorklund, and then we're going to take a brief break.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Dale Kay, CEO of Innovation Tri-Valley Leadership Group. And I must say, you are a very lucky city council, and we're a lucky town because you have tremendously engaged and passionate residents here. I congratulate every single one of these proposals and honor what they have done because it's really impressive. And we say that innovation lives and innovation in Livermore, but certainly apathy does not live here. And that's a good thing. So Innovation Tri-Valley was born because of a collaborative nature of the Tri-Valley. It grew because of its mandate to create an ecosystem of innovation and empathy, and it flourished because we welcome all those with unique talents and bold new ideas to sit at the same table to nurture what is good and hopefully create change for the better. We support the unified vision because it lives up to its name. 3 dynamic groups supported by business, cowboys, millennials, vintners, working together to create a downtown cultural core that is family-friendly, accessible, forward-thinking, and inclusive. It does promise to make your downtown a premier wine country destination and a California gem. ITV is really impressed that in this collaborative plan, we include Mike Madden, who is a proven developer and a major stakeholder in the Tri-Valley, a science and society center that we think will help expand our workforce and actually help us recruit new talent, and a true black box theater run by Livermore Shakespeare Festival, a group that I feel and we feel is capable of sustaining that special kind of theater that incubates and nurtures talent, providing a place where artists can actually write, cast, rehearse, and perform their production. Now that is innovation. These organizations have worked together to create shared spaces that will lower the cost and shorten the time frame for the development of the cultural core, and that is good business. The projects in Unified Vision will reflect the rapid evolution of art, science, and business. Together, the 3 organizations embrace the future in what we think is an authentic and visionary manner. So we urge you to accept the Unified Visions RFQ and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kay. Kelly Cousins, Gabriella Bjorklund, and then a quick break.
Good evening. My name's Kelly Cousins, and I'm the chairman of the Education Committee, which is part of the LVPAC board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before the Livermore City Council again on behalf of the arts in the Livermore area and region. For tonight's RFQ selection process, I want to speak about the LVPAC's ability to activate the space around Stockman's Park and manage and create a black box theater space. I have worked closely with Scott, the LVPAC staff and board members, including Educational Program Manager Kieran Gugliera, on a vision and intent to provide a collective impact on the lives of our students, families, and community. LVPAC doesn't have to dream about these opportunities. We have created them. As you know from attending many of the events in front of the Bankhead space and inside the Bankhead Theater, we have a track record also of reaching over 18,000 students and have offered a broad range of arts and cultural experiences, activities, and mostly free of charge or at low cost. Many members of the community often remark that they think this is a great opportunity that city has provided them, and they don't always know that the LVPAC and their community has supported programs like the Art Walk, the Innovation Fair that many people have made reference to. These are all programs that were created and helped brought to fruition by LVPAC. Many of you have seen how much excitement is brought to the downtown area with summer concerts, festivals, celebration of the many ethnic groups. Among our programs, Scott mentioned before, Native American, Hispanic, Filipino, Southeast Asian, African groups to share in their rich culture and influence our town and region. We have worked cooperatively with and supported educational experiences with the Livermore Amador Symphony, Cannabella Choir, Livermore Shakespeare Festival, local community bands, and youth musical endeavors. LVPAC has shown over time that their team can demonstrate creative, collaborative logistical and managerial skills, and financial sustainability to produce and manage these programs. And I urge you to make LV PAC your choice for tonight due to their proven record. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cousins. And then finally, Gabriella Bjorklund. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll go on to the other half.
Good evening. This is Kelsey Hertz,
Zoe Marcel,
and Gabriella Bjorklund, and we are speaking on the behalf of Liz Roberts.
Dear Lisa Tromovich and Katie Marcel, I am very much in favor of a black box theater in Livermore. I am co-owner and jazz director of Livermore School of Dance. I have over 300 students enrolled in my studio, with many of them in my jazz dance company. Throughout my 14 years of having the studio, my dancers have performed and participated in many venues in Livermore, such as the Bankhead Theater, Shea Home Stage, Bothwell Center, Street Fest, and many more. We are always in need of a place to share our talents to the community.
I feel the Black Box Theater would be a perfect facility to have in downtown Livermore. With the Bankhead Theater rental rates going up, it is no longer affordable for me to rent it on a regular basis. The Black Box Theater would be wonderful for my future performances, workshops, and events. It would also open so many opportunities for us to perform more frequently throughout the year. I know there are so many other artists and theater companies in our Livermore community that would benefit from having this theater in our downtown.
I'm looking forward to collaborating with these other artists, creating and building relationships with them as well. My business partner, Shelley Schoendiest, agrees with me wholeheartedly in this venture. We both are here to support this in any way we can. Think of all the entertainment, energy, and vitality it will bring to our downtown community and to citizens of Livermore. A win-win for everyone. Sincerely yours, Liz Roberts.
Thank you.
Wow, and we finish it up with a 4 for 1. Thank you very much. That was great. Well done. Thank you. And with that, we're going to take about a 5-minute break, and we'll be back here and get the other half. Thank you very much. We'll see you in a few. Good evening, and welcome back to the part 2 of the June 18th meeting of the Livermore City Council. This is a special meeting, and this is about the development of the downtown, around the Stockman's Park, the cultural facilities, and the Black Box Theater. So we've heard from a number of folks so far. We're all set to hear the second half. First is Kelsey Tressimer, Tom Manger, and Deborah Lagan. Kelsey Tressimer. Okay. Tom Manger, Deborah Lagan, Rose Ramos. Okay, Tom had to leave. Okay. Deborah Lagan. Oh, there we go. And Rose Ramos. Sorry if I butchered your name.
Hi, my name is Deborah Lagan. I am an actor and teaching artist from Livermore Shakespeare Festival, and I am reading a letter on behalf of one of our ACT Masters students who are acting alongside me this summer. My name is Will Hoschler, and I'm thrilled to be spending my first season with the Livermore Shakespeare Festival. I'm currently entering into my 3rd year as an MFA student at the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. Even though this is my first year with Livermore Shakes, ACT students have been involved with Livermore Shakespeare for years. Despite only being here for 1 season, the leadership, vision, and heart of the theater is very strong, and a reason that so many ACT students keep coming back every summer. As a student who is training to be a professional actor, the summers are an opportunity to put my training into practice. Livermore Shakespeare has been an amazing opportunity to receive professional experience before graduating. I want to fully endorse Livermore Shakespeare in their pursuit of a year-round theater. I can't tell how vitally important and beneficial it is to have a stable year-round theater that interacts with the community in a caring and thoughtful manner like Livermore Shakespeare. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rose Ramos.
Hello, my name is Rose Ramus, and I'd like to read a note from Don and Linda Milanese. They were unable to make it here tonight, so they ask, honorable members of the City Council, first we'd like to say that we both are very supportive of Shakespeare's Associates. We are and have been volunteers and donors for many years, and we admire the excellence of their productions. However, when it comes to the Black Box Theater, we hope they'd leave its management and day-to-day operations to the staff already in place at the bankhead. LV PAC knows how to run theaters, while Shakespeare's expertise is performance-based. The Black Box will be used by many performance groups. We see no benefit for Shakespeare's Associates to add the challenges of having to manage a facility. Why would they want the challenges when they could instead have welcome access to the Black Box with none of the headaches and responsibility of its upkeep? And we're sure that LV PAC would welcome Shakespeare Associates as consultants on its artistic design. We hope Shakespeare will leave the facility to the people with the proven experience and expertise and focus on their performance expertise. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jean King, Rochelle Snedeker, and Brent Seiler.
It takes me a while. My back is better, but it's not perfect. Okay, good evening. I am Jean King, Chairman of the Board of the Livermore Valley Performing Arts Theater. And when LVPAC received the RFQ for the Black Box Theater from the staff, with just a month to put it together. However, the board first authorized an exploratory study of the development and operations of the proposed theater to make sure that it would strengthen LVPAC's ability to provide a broad range of cultural experiences to a diverse community. Only then did the LVPAC Board of Directors vote unanimously to submit LVPAC's response to the RFQ. The proposal is for a Black Box Theater and more. What we have is definitely a Black Box Theater, no matter what some of the other people said, but it's more because we realize that in order for this to be financially feasible, it has to do more than just be a Black Box Theater. It has to have more things come in, and as the Shakespeare group said, there's 155 days which need to be filled, and we want it to be filled with more than just the performing experiences of the Shakespeare things. Collaboration and transparency are very important to LVPAC. LVPAC collaborates with 9 resident companies and scores of other groups and organizations that use the Black Box Theater and Bothwell Arts Center and are funded by us for events outside the Bankhead and Bothwell facilities. These include the Livermore Shakespeare Festival, which currently uses the Bothwell for rehearsals and is receiving from LVPAC the funding for its summer camp. The Black Box Theater will enable us to expand our collaborations to a larger number of diverse groups. Our existing staff and equipment make it possible for us to offer a flexible 250-seat Black Box Theater at a minimum rates. Yes, somebody said that we have changed who we work with. Yes, we've enlarged the number of people that we work with and added to our resident companies. Also, when the RFQ first came out, we reached out to Shakespeare Associates, our staff did, and they said that they did not want to work with us. They never came to us and asked us to collaborate for them, that we turned them down. Transparency is our other theme. LVPAC staff has been meeting regularly with city staff and presents an annual report to the council and the public at council meetings. Scott Kennison, our executive director, gives reports of these meetings at our monthly government committee and at our executive committee and board meetings. I assume there is follow-up between city staff and the council. LVPAC staff and board members also frequently meet with individual council members. We are one of only 2 nonprofits in Livermore to be given the top 4-star rating from Charity Navigator, an organization that evaluates nonprofit transparency. The purpose of LVPAC's government committee is to allow a subset of board members, in addition to staff, to stay in touch on a monthly basis with Tri-Valley governmental organizations and leaders affecting cultural issues in the region. The committee passes on information relevant to the welfare of LVPAC to the full board. I'd like to emphasize that we are not asking for capital or operating expenses from the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. King. Rochelle Snedeker, Brent Seiler, and Joanne Foy.
Hello, Mayor and Councilman. My name is Rochelle Snedeker, Livermore Downtown Inc., Executive Director. And I want to start off by saying that LDI, Livermore Downtown Inc., does endorse the Unified Plan because it is just that. I can't say enough about Red Bear. We absolutely adore what has been brought to downtown through the Madden Family Investments. Blacksmith Square, we know will be preserved, enhanced, not overshadowed, and absolutely interlinked within the whole project as well as the downtown. The Science and Society Center, I've had conversations with their leadership, and it was very exciting to hear plans of the education and integration of our local brilliance, as well as global brilliance bringing in opportunities. I joked with them and said, you know, I'm not a scientist like you guys are. So, but in our conversation, we realized, yes, we are. We are the social science arm of the downtown area. So it was exciting to really see how that's going to integrate as they bring in conversations about social responsibility in the sciences with I'm a Westworld fan, so I do find that very important that we start having those conversations. Shakespeare Festival. Before I get to that, let me start with the LVPAC presentation. About a year and a half ago, we collaboratively worked with LVPAC and the wine growers and chose to submit an application to be part one of the first of the California cultural districts to be chosen for their pilot program. And it was submitted by LVPAC leadership. And unfortunately, it came back with a couple of denial reasonings that really helped put the mirror in our face about what is wrong with our cultural district. And one of the things that was brought up is that the way the application was entered is we didn't show enough interaction with the business community. And I think that's my concern with what we see coming forward from LVPAC. I didn't hear really anything in the presentation about the rest of the neighborhood and the interaction with our business community to make sure that everybody's synergy is happening together in that downtown core. That takes me to Shakespeare. This has been nothing but collaboration with all of these organizations that you've heard from tonight. With LDI, we've heard from multiple times from Shakespeare. What do you think? What will help the neighborhood? How should we integrate this? The Stockman's Park, what are the best things to connect all of our different pieces so that we're getting full advantage throughout the downtown district? The Science Center, same thing. How do we integrate the science and the different presentations with what the business needs are? The science of culinary, the science of hospitality. All of these things are already being discussed in a collaborative nature. I have no doubt that Shakespeare can handle this. Let's not, art is an entrepreneurial endeavor as well. You have two women who have proven themselves beyond a shadow of a doubt that are ready to move forward. Let's embrace that entrepreneurial spirit.
Thank you, Ms. Snedeker. Brent Seiler, Joanne Foy, and let's try Kelsey Tresimer again.
Good evening, Council. I really appreciate, Mayor, that you flipped it on us. And I'm glad you did it because I had one opinion. And it really, by changing up the dynamics to letting us hear the presentations first and then talking, has really got me kind of on the fence here. What do I do? I love the arts. Thanks to my girlfriend from high school. She was in Brigadoon, so now I watch it once a year, every year. Still my favorite play to go see. And I'm a technologist by trade. I started a business here in Livermore, Active Care Health, where we remotely monitor transplant patients. So technology, we grew that from the ground up. This is something I really feel the town needs, the diversity in the arts as well as in the technology side. But also look at it from a pragmatic standpoint as a businessman. Both of them are relying on donors. And we know that in a downturn economy, those wells dry up pretty quick. I mean, personally, I don't like the private funding aspect of this, the way it's set up now. And what changed my mind was Mr. Kent. He had a really great track he was going on. I thought he was going to go where I was going with it, but he took a quick turn on me. So I'm going to see if I can straighten that turn out. I think we have two really good organizations. Both have track records that can benefit the community. And I think if there was any way humanly possible that we could shatter the glass ceiling here, get rid of both organizations, form a new organization that would bring the best of both, because both of them have a large donor base. If they could bring both of those together, I would feel more comfortable with private funding. If we can't do that, then I would ask that you require 50% cash liquidity to start off with. If they don't have 50%, they're not in the game. I would also ask for 3 years of capital expenditures. People putting this money out have commitment to getting it done. I think both organizations need to be in play here, not just one, not just the other. I think we need to bring them together, put differences aside. And I think Mr. Kent had the really good thought, which is this will build one community. It's no more us, them, this and that, right? It's one Livermore. And Mr. Mayor, you've said that over and over and over again. And so I would just ask that both organizations take the time and let's come together as one, form a new organization, and let it be one Livermore. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seiler. Joanne Foy, Kelsey Tressimer, Katie Sonas.
Good evening, Your Honor, council members. My name is Joanne Foy. I am the Vice President of the California Independent Film Festival. I'm also a resident of Livermore. I understand that the bids have gone out for the building of the Black Box Theater. I want the Black Box Theater. The film festival wants the Black Box Theater. We want it to be a successful venue. My family wants the Black Box venue, and the people I know want the Black Box Theater. We also want to be assured that the bidding process, the qualification process, is transparent, open, and honest. We want assurances that the City of Livermore and the council members, that they respect the bidding process, the qualification process, and that they have another chance to show the people of Livermore that they really do have their best interests at heart. This is a great opportunity for Livermore. We are excited. The film festival has been in existence for 21 years. We understand we had to move out of Livermore because we had venue problems. We know that. We moved to Moraga, Orinda, and now we're in San Francisco. As the California Independent Film Festival Vice President, I know the difference between running a successful festival and running a successful venue. You have good intentions, and a lot of intentions, and these groups have the best intentions, and so does our council, but it doesn't pay the bills. You have a bid from LV PAC that will pay all costs for a theater and the expenses and has the experience to run the day-to-day operations for years to come without any changing of the process that you have in place, without any cost to the voting members of Livermore. That's important. If the city wants to be in partnership in the business, we agree. We would fund that too. We would agree with that. Let the city build what they want and have both groups work together to run the day-to-day operations. We like that idea also. If you trust the Madden family, like we do and we have in the past, if you trust them to come back into Livermore and build, then trust LV PAC, your Performing Arts Center people. Trust them to build and run the Black Box Theater. It really is that simple. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Foy. Kelsey Tressimer, going once, twice? Okay. Katie Sonas, Joseph Winder, Dawn Argula.
Good evening. My name is Katie Sonis. I have been a student at Diablo Valley College, and in this fall, I will be transferring to the University of Idaho to pursue my BFA in theater. I am one of Livermore Shakespeare Festival's college apprentices this year. Theater is a home and an important community for myself and countless others. And although this is just my first year with Livermore Shakes, I know that they have been offering this home for years. I'm not the first, nor will I be the last student to come here from DVC Drama, nor am I the first from the University of Idaho. A former Livermore Shakes apprentice and Idaho student is currently working at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, which just shows what LSF can offer their wide community. Theater is an important part of any community, and in just my short time with them, I have already seen how far into this wonderful community Livermore Shakes has reached. Their unique work that they do is inspiring, from their professional shows to their youth program, and I'm incredibly honored to be a part of it. Along with myself and the other college apprentices, Livermore Shakes also has high school interns, and although they cannot be here tonight, I would like to read statements on behalf of two of them. The first is from Natalia Rybovich. I am Natalia Rybovich, a recent grad of Amador Valley High School and incoming freshman at NYU. This is my second year being a high school intern with LSF. As a high school student, it has been so special to me to get to work with a professional cast and crew. I've learned so much through working with LSF, and I think all of their educational programs add so much to the community, from the second grade programs all the way up to their college apprentices. Another thing I love about LSF is the genuine community that they have built. When I went on as an understudy mid-show last year, I was so grateful for all of the support and love everyone involved with the show gave me in order for the show to go on. LSF is a truly magical place, and I can't wait to see how it will continue to grow in the future. The second is from Kira Glass. My name is Kira Glass, and this is my first year working with LSF as a high school intern. I learned about the program from a Facebook post, and I thought that it would be a great way to spend the summer. I had no idea about the scope of the impact that LSF has on their community and the surrounding communities. I have always considered theater as something that unites a community, but LSF has allowed me to experience this phenomenon firsthand. In addition, I have had the opportunity to learn about so many aspects of theater and how it can benefit a community as a whole. A valuable experience that I will cherish as I prepare to move to New York and pursue theater at the New York University. I would like nothing more than to return to Livermore and give back to a company which has given me such a positive experience in just a couple weeks into the program. It's imperative that this company is given a space to call home so that they are able to expand their outreach and become even more of a success in creating beautiful theater and strengthening the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joseph Winder, Don Argula, and Andrew Barker.
Mayor, Councilman, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I would like to start with a statement from one of the ACT MFA students who are with LSF this summer, from Sarah Traisman. Livermore Shakespeare provides an invaluable opportunity for me and all visiting master's students from the American Conservatory Theater to continue the exploration of our craft during the summer months. The company invites us into Livermore to collaborate with local artists and create a real sense of community. If not for Livermore, I would never have had the chance to tackle the role of Hermione in The Winter's Tale this summer, nor would I have ever ventured into this part of the state. The festival has opened up my experience in so many ways and will always be an important artistic to all of us students. Hello. My name is Joseph Winder, and I am an acting, directing, and playwright student getting ready to enter into a BFA program this fall at the University of Idaho. I was hired this summer as an acting apprentice for the Livermore Shakespeare Festival, and I cannot begin to explain how excited I have been. As an up-and-coming theater artist, the prospect of a year-round producing black box theater located in the beautiful downtown of Livermore is a dream come true. It is my firm belief that the Livermore Shakespeare Festival is the perfect option to run such a theater. They are uniquely qualified and have proven themselves time and time again with their hard work and commitment not just to the arts, but the community as well. I stand here before you tonight without any doubt in my mind that if given the opportunity to build a theater on this land, Livermore Shakespeare Festival will not only continue to be committed to the creation of spectacular productions, but they will build a second home for the people of Livermore and will continue on to become a cornerstone for live theater in the Bay Area as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Winder. Don Argula, Andrew Barker, Jeff Caskey.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff. Dawn Argula, CEO of the Livermore Valley Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber supports the Unified Vision proposal. It includes all the elements called out in the city's project vision laid out in the RFQ for cultural facility and commercial space surrounding the Stockman's Park. The proposed design and massing is attractive and really very appealing, activating the entire space as outlined in the city's concept. The proposal lays out a way that while the Black Box Theater and Science and Society Center elements continue to raise funds for construction, the privately funded commercial elements can go first, creating excitement and synergy for the park space and for the adjacent Blacksmith Square. Completion of the commercial space will increase attention to the potential for the future theater and center. And of course, we will finally see something built in the near term. Red Bear has a proven track record of successfully delivering and managing commercial properties without the need for financial intervention from the public sector. This is the mission and purpose of this developer. In our view, this makes for a very strong case for this team proposal. The Livermore Shakespeare Festival and the Science and Society Center have set the bar to deliver their respective elements of the city's vision. And the proposal includes provisions for development, funding, and construction that incorporates shared spaces, hence shared costs, as well as for operations and maintenance for the long term. This is an important factor in this proposal. In essence, the unified proposal shows a capacity for creative and financial collaboration and inclusiveness, but also a realistic framework to deliver all elements envisioned in the city's concept within a realistically reasonable amount of time. I would like to close by saying that you have the responsibility of doing the due diligence of whichever team that you select. There have been some comments here about the financial integrity of both proposals. I would say one thing that occurred to me is that, and this sounds like it's going off track here, it is a little bit. We're very fortunate in this town to have some pretty amazing and dynamic leaders, and many of those are women. And we have benefited very well from this leadership by these women, these amazing women, one of which was Joan Seppala, when she had her vision for the Performing Arts Regional Center. And today we have the Bankhead. The city took a chance. It was a risk. It was something that we wanted, and we went ahead and went with it. And I think for the most part, people are happy with it. There were some complications along the way, which the city worked out. On the other hand, we have Lisa Traumatich in the Shakespeare Festival, and her dream is the Black Box Theater. And she's worked very hard to put forth a proposal that I would say to you, take a chance, have the courage, and make the change. I think we can back this up. It's going to be fine, and you will have done your due diligence to make sure that the vision occurs. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Barker, Jeff Caskey, Lynn Seppala. Andrew Barker, going once, twice. He was standing there for a while. Okay, we'll get him back. Jeff Caskey, Lynn Seppala, Kathy Young.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jeff Caskey, and I'm on the board of LVPAC. LVPAC has successfully presented the work of artists from Bill Owens in its lobby to Bill Shakespeare, albeit on a abridged version, on its often sold-out stage. Don't forget also that it presents art in the Bothwell Theater, the Bothwell Art Space, which includes the Black Box Theater where John and Donna have appeared. LVPAC presents work from across town and from across the globe, and it's really proven that it knows exactly how to do exactly what is needed to make a black box theater a thriving partner in our downtown. I heard a little early negative passion, and it is sometimes, as is the case with negative passion, it was a little misguided. LVPAC plan does not incorporate or replace the Science Center or the Red Bear retail. That's because what LVPAC does, and does really well, is present performances. Our ability to present a realistic budget is evidence of that tonight. There will absolutely be cooperative, mutually beneficial plans with the other actors that will be developing other parts of the downtown. It was complained that LSF didn't collaborate with LVPAC, or LVPAC didn't collaborate with LSF, and honestly, they're both developing competing plans. They went out and they developed what they thought was their best plan, put them together, and no, they didn't read over each other's shoulder. Well, okay, I think that's pretty expected. I think once we're done with this, certainly if LVPAC has the opportunity to develop the Black Box Theater, we will actively pursue and welcome the LSF participation along with the many other organizations here in Livermore. I was surprised to hear the fairly narrow definition of black box theater. One configurable space is bad, another configurable space is good. I think black box theaters are different. Remember that black box theater started when people were performing in warehouses and spaces where they couldn't afford to do anything. And rather than saying that we're performing in the old Ford assembly plant, they said that we're performing in a black box theater. Black box theaters have obviously evolved, but no two are alike. I've been in a number of black box theater, each one different, each one giving a unique experience. I think this is great. I think that Livermore visitors and residents alike will appreciate the high quality, adaptable black box theater that the LVPAC is offering to build. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Caskey. Lynn Seppala, Kathy Young, Denise Ledden.
Well, I'm slower than Gene. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I'm Lynn Seppala, Chair of the Pacific Chamber Orchestra, celebrating its 30th year. We have been providing professional chamber music concerts in the banquet and outreach programs in the city schools for 12 years. We are grateful for the financial subsidy from LVPAC of $3,000 to $4,000 for each and every concert that we provide. And it's true of many of the resident companies. Without that strength of LVPAC and their subsidies, most of them may not survive. We too are looking for a smaller and less expensive venue than the banquet for some of our performances. One with good acoustics and seating capacity that could vary from 150 to 200. We would need the banquet theater for our most popular concert. We welcome the opportunity to work with LVPAC on the design of a theater that meets our objectives and other community groups using the banquet theater, whether they are presenting groups like Livermore Eminor Symphony, the El Val Fine Arts, or the Ray Dora Speaker Series, or producing groups like Livermore Valley Opera, Tri-Valley Repertory Theater, and Valley Dance Theater. In our case, it would be efficient, less costly, and more effective to coordinate our programming, marketing, and outreach with only one organization to deal with. Our budget is tight, and with a less costly venue, we will be able to increase our already extensive outreach program to students, especially low-income students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seppala. Kathy Young, Denise Ledden, Nina Meehan. Kathy Young?
She had to leave.
Okay. Andrew Barker, Kelsey Tressimer. Okay, Denise Ledden, Nina Meehan, Catherine Kozia-Zimsky. Sorry.
Good evening. I just have to tell you I am delighted with the LVPAC proposal for the Black Box Theater. I am an active board member for the Livermore Amador Symphony, Del Val Fine Arts, and Cantabella Children's Chorus. I speak with confidence that LVPAC, with its Bankhead and Bothwell staff, have always been very supportive of our local arts groups and resident companies who perform at these LVPAC venues. Cantabella Children's Chorus is the latest resident company to begin to perform regularly at the Bankhead Theater starting May 2019. Cantabella recognizes the value in partnering with the theater, the many functions that we can release, handing it over to LVPAC's expertise. The Cantabella board has expressed interest in using the Black Box Theater, a perfect size for some of our performances. I am always impressed with the LVPAC system, a place for collaborative projects. Number one is the Free Family Concert. Scott Kennison, he was the seed of that project, and he nurtured it. The symphony partnering with youth groups, Cantabella and Valley Dance Theater. LVPAC accommodates the Element 116 youth group in the lobby during show intermissions. LVPAC does music and art pairings shows. Bothwell's Art Walk that brings LCAC and youth musicians together to play during the event. These are just a few of the many LVPAC resident company collaborations. LVPAC will continue to work on building more youth collaborations with the Black Box Theater on the horizon. I especially like that the LVPAC proposal plans to privately fund the full Black Box Theater facility without city funds. LVPAC has much experience assisting our shows, and I will much appreciate the City Council selecting their well-rounded proposal to build and manage the Black Box Theater. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ledden. Nina Meehan and Catherine Kozioziemski. Fairly close?
Good evening. I'm the Executive Artistic Director of Bay Area Children's Theater, and I'm really thrilled to be here this evening. Thank you so much. I'm here tonight because this past year, LVPAC reached out to Bay Area Children's Theater. We are an award-winning children's theater here in the Bay Area. We reach about 115,000 people with our classes, camps, and professional productions for family and student audiences. And this past year, LVPAC reached out to us to collaborate on after-school musical theater classes. And we are so thrilled that starting this summer, we're going to be offering summer camps, and the first session is already sold out. And about a month ago, I got an incredible email saying, hey, you know, we talked about bringing your professional productions to Livermore. Our professional productions are currently in Berkeley, San Francisco, and Sunnyvale. And when we'd originally spoken, I said, you know, the thing is, the Bankhead's really huge. And we're talking about shows for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds. I really love a more intimate space. And I got an email saying, hey, there's a possibility that LVPAC will be building a 250-seat Black Box Theater in downtown Livermore, and we would love to collaborate with you on bringing children's theater to life here in Livermore. My company specializes in adaptations of children's literature. So like this year, we're going to be opening our season with the Spanish language version of Cat in the Hat. We have the world premiere of She Persisted, the musical. And all of these shows, we do family performances on the weekend as well as student matinee audiences during the week. So I'm here tonight to say that we look forward to the incredible Black Box that is clearly going to be happening here in Livermore. And if LVPAC is the direction that you guys take, Bay Area Children's Theater would be thrilled to be a part of the offerings there. And thank you so much.
Thank you. And finally, Catherine Kozioziemski. Is that fairly close?
Good evening. I'm Catherine Kozioziemski.
Kozioziemski.
So close.
Okay.
That's all
The
right.
second Z is...
I'm used to it. I know.
Sorry.
That's all right. I have no doubt that LVPAC will create a beautiful space and more opportunity to experience art and theater in Livermore. And what spoke to me as both a resident and parent in Livermore is that Livermore Shakes will offer more creation of the arts in Livermore. My own child had a wonderful experience of So Young, So Wise, and I appreciate Livermore Shakes' engagement in our schools and community to create as well as entertain. Additionally, I can't help but notice the more collaborative efforts as well as the gender diverse leadership of Livermore Shakes, and have no doubt that they will continue to support local and female artists. I firmly believe that having the Black Box Theater run by an organization other than LVPAC will only increase the diversity of arts and cultural experiences available in Livermore. Just as we don't want one Vintner operating every winery in the valley, having a diversity of creators and operators creates a more rich arts experience for residents and visitors alike. I understand that there are rightfully so concerns about financing the theater. I can't help but feel that Livermore Shakes is the David to the LVPAC Goliath. I have full confidence that Livermore Shakes can raise the necessary funds. And personally, I was thinking of this. I was like, I want to give to that. Not that I have a lot to give, but that's what I want to contribute to. And I think that those grassroots efforts, the Livermore Shakes, is what excites me as a resident that I want to contribute to and be a part of. I feel like LVPAC is wonderful. I'm going there Thursday night to see Sean Colvin. I love it. And at the same time, I feel like they don't need me in the same way that I feel like Livermore Shakes can need me and use my contribution. Lastly, I ask you to listen to the artists tonight. Listen to the young voices. And what are they asking for? What opportunities do they need in their community? I encourage you to support the unified vision to support local artists. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. That's all the cards I've got. Thank you for all of your input. Certainly appreciate all of that, and certainly appreciate the passion that's in the that we heard tonight. Okay, so for starters, does anyone have any questions at this point?
Questions?
Questions.
Or are we going straight into comments?
No, going to
Has any
questions first.
questions?
Well, questions first, and then what I'm going to do is going to, because there are three different components here, we're going to discuss each of the three components first. So if you have questions as we go into this, starting, anything?
Yeah, well, I could say I think two of the components are a slam dunk since there's very little competition for the two. I can do that. I'm not a scientist, but I can do a little bit of math there. My questions are both for Livermore Shakespeare and LVPAC related to operating expenditures. So I don't know if I should just start with Livermore Shakespeare. If you have any response to the $82,800 in your operating expenses, if you have a breakdown, something that you can provide for us, of where that number came about, and also if you have any projections for the other buildings to be constructed around the Black Box Theater, if there's any rough estimates of what you proposed.
Yeah, I earmarked it. Let me just turn this. I earmarked it for you. Yes, so I do apologize. I thought that the cost analysis, business plan, and the ROM development budget was in your packet. When we asked that these numbers have a lot of detail in them, were not disclosed to the public, we did not realize that they were going to be pulled from your packet. I only learned that today. So I do have those documents with me, and I can answer questions about that.
Yeah, if there's any kind of rough breakdown of the $82,000 in operating expenses.
Yes, the operating expenses include your basic utilities, janitorial contract, maintenance and repair, safety systems, fire protection, monitoring, phone line, property insurance, etc. And what we've found is that when we apply the operating income using only 20% of tickets, earned income, and other earned revenue sources, we're not applying donations to this because we're being very fiscally conservative. And when we deduct the occupancy costs, the occupancy expenses, and also capital reserve fund contingency and contingency for operations, am I missing anything? We still come out with a net occupancy income of $102,589, which would allow us to hire a building manager and program manager, 1.5 FTEs.
So is that building manager for the entire building? Is it just the Black Box Theater?
Yes, for the entire building.
The entire building.
Yes.
So it wasn't really clear as to how the funding for the surrounding building would occur, but you are proposing to maintain the surrounding building. So you're taking care of all the operating. It's just the capital of how the surrounding building is built that's in question.
It's how we began looking at the building. It actually started with restrooms. we did make an assumption.
Great place to start.
I mean, it's an important place to start.
Yeah.
And we did assume, perhaps incorrectly, that the city was probably going to build some bathrooms, and that if those were incorporated into the building that we were going to propose, there could be some sharing there. And then we started thinking about what the wine growers need and what the musicians need and what catering needs are and how those could be shared, so that U-shaped structure represents that kind of thinking, the parts of the building that are most likely to be shared and support these other activities. and then the black box is essentially the center building. If you break it down from, let me pull up the ROM. We have an overall cost for the whole thing, whole package, of $8,092,800, so a little over $8 million. And it's roughly $5 million for the building, for the black box, backstage, green room, and upstairs, and roughly $3 million for the attendant part of it. I am confident that we can raise the $8 million. Thinking of it in two ways demonstrates the way that we're collaborating with other potential users, and also will inform the way that we fundraise for the program.
Okay, and one of the reasons why I asked this is we emphasized during the downtown process, and I was a big fan of the hash marks. No offense to anybody, but putting hash marks through this facility, because I was, the message that I came away with was that the black box would succeed or fail on its own, that it wouldn't rely on city money for capital or operating. Now, if we're talking shared facilities, that might be something that the city would need to discuss, but I think it's really important that we focus on and we don't leave here. I heard some commenters tonight say that, oh, I guess you're assuming that the city's going to pay for the rest. So that's an important factor for me, for both theaters, that they succeed or fail on their own. And that's why we have the hash marks. Again, no offense, everybody, both teams doing a great job in identifying funding sources, but that's just something that was important to me because throughout the public outreach process, I have been receiving comments from people saying, why do we need a black box theater? There's still a lot of residents that don't understand the need for a black box theater, and my kind of go-to statement has always been, we have some great groups. They want to fund this and operate this on their own. If they can do it, that's great. If not, it's a park. So Thank you for providing that additional information.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to clarify, though, that we are not assuming that the city is building the rest. That is not our assumption. So this $8 million does include all of it. And so when we ran our feasibility study, as we presented, and saw $23 million capacity over the next 5 years, which is the recommended amount of time for a fundraising campaign of this size, it was very, very promising. And I think any group in any building, they're going to look for those naming rights. We are also looking into other financial instruments that only nonprofits can take advantage of that will also help with the financial plan.
Great, thank you. And then I have some questions for Mr. Kennison with LVPAC. The earned income assumes $131,000 a year in rental income. What's the backup plan? Should you not have a tenant for the restaurant? We're having struggles of our own at the airport finding a tenant. Our downtown sometimes has struggles finding. Now we have perfect location right in front of the Bankhead Theater. Example is Sauced. How many restaurants did we go through before Sauced took off and looks like they're going to be here to stay? What, 3? I believe 4. So what is your backup plan should the art gallery or you don't hold events and conferences totaling $65,000 a year, or a restaurant is dark for a year? What's the backup plan to make up the $131,000?
We raise more money. That's what we do, and that's what we've always done.
And that would be through donations, basically. Yes. Okay. And then the ticketing at $105,000 a year. How many seats is that assuming?
I assumed 150 to 175 seats per performance.
150 to 175. Okay.
Yes, and we were planning on doing about 85 performances a year. About 40 of those would be our Presents series, and the rest would be partners who would come in, like Bay Area Children's Theater, Livermore Shakes, Pacific Chamber Orchestra, the Cantabella Children's Chorus, and any other partners who want to come in. One of the differences between, I mentioned this before, between what we do at the Bankhead and what we do here is making it affordable, and it's based on the budget of the organization, and we don't charge rent. What we charge is a portion of the ticket price based on that, based on their income.
Okay, and the staffing, the administrative production in front of house that totals $200,000. That's staffing just for, is it the black box, or is it an extension of your own?
It is an extension of our own. They are designated for the black box, and one of the things that when we went through this process, it did take 2 weeks before the board, or I was convinced to convince the board to go forward with this RFQ. One of the things that I found is these three positions not only support the Black Box Theater, but support the Bankhead and the Bothwell, because part of it is making sure that there's somebody on staff whose responsibility it is to rent these spaces, to make that money.
Okay. The other question that I have, it's along the same lines of the hash marks line. Did you ever at any point consider operating this completely independent from the Bankhead, not commingling funding sources and operations? Because my concern, it leads back to this Black Box Theater should succeed or fail on its own. Technically, we're in a partnership with the Bankhead Theater, and I would be inclined to see all efforts just still, again, not criticizing the financials of the Bankhead.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that I would prefer to see all effort to continue to go into the Bankhead and Bothwell rather than now branching out and having a potential for a drain on the Bankhead, which then is technically, in a partnership with the city, again, succeeding and failing on its own.
Part of the plan, and another reason that I was convinced that this was a good idea, it's always easier to raise money for a project. It's much sexier to build a building than it is to just give us money to pay for the bills, to keep the lights on, to even for capital improvements, it's a little more difficult. And part of the plan here is that we will raise enough money not just for the building, but also start the endowment that is part of our strategic plan, that we will have money to support this building into the future, not just year by year by year.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all the questions that I have for now.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just a real quick one. I was going to talk to Lisa first. If does Shakespeare have a capital budget?
The Livermore Shakespeare Festival?
Yeah. Is there a capital, along with an operating budget, obviously, do you have a capital budget for facilities and things like that?
When we actually, Katie, maybe you should join me. When our capital expenses have occurred every time we had to move from one winery to another. So
okay.
Yeah, so because we have to.
We're thinking different terms. I'm a banker, so.
Well,
bear
our
with me here.
accountant
We
puts
have
it
to
down
build
as capital
something. You have
expense.
to build something.
Right, well, we have to build a stage platform to
Okay.
each that suits each particular site.
Okay.
And so each of those required us to do a capital campaign, and then we had to depreciate over the years as the wood.
Yes,
you
you
know.
do.
So yes, we do. We have it. It's more like Brigadoon, as needed. It arises. So we have dealt with capital cost issues and capital campaigns, but we've never had an opportunity to take on a large capital campaign. So we're actually very excited by it.
Yeah, and currently our overhead includes our staff, our office, and all of the various storage spaces and all of the various all of the money that we have to spend on crews to move all of that stuff every time those spaces become unavailable to us. So consolidating a lot of the resources that we've spent, bandwidth money, on being vagabonds and being a traveling group and homeless, all of that will be moved to our expenses covering the black box, as well as our salaries and anybody new that we add on.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Councilor Carly?
I was just wondering if you wanted to entertain a motion to accept the Red Bear and LSSC proposals.
Let me. Okay. Yes. Sure.
So I'll move that we accept the staff recommendations for Red Bear and LSSC.
I'll second.
Okay. Moved by Councilor Carling, seconded by Councilor Spadowski. So I just want to elaborate just a little bit here. This is very important because this is the most important development in the history of Livermore was in 1869. And that was when the train station was built. And that was even before Livermore was incorporated. And the fact that William Mendenhall and his vision saw the importance of the train station, because that's why it ensured the viability and the survival of Livermore. That That's the reason that the cities of, or the towns of Elliott, Olimar, and Ladsville no longer exist, Tesla, is because they didn't have a train station and we did. And what I find really exciting is that this is probably going to be the second most important development in the history of Livermore, because it's the revitalization of the downtown, and remarkably, it's on the same site as the first most expensive, most important. So with the downtown core, the Stockman's Park, more parking, more retail, and a hotel in the downtown where hotels once thrived. So this is big. So what I'd like to do is recognizing that. Once again, I'd like to, for each component, to ask for a roll call vote.
Yeah,
oh, you made a motion? Second? Okay, discussion on the commercial component.
Oh, well, it's the commercial component and the Science Center.
Blended both of them.
Okay, we put both of them together. Okay.
So I've got to compliment Councilmember Carling for cutting to the chase quickly. And
That's what he does.
Has that
I
known
tried
in the-
earlier.
Yeah, well, and known for that. I want to say that there are a couple of finer points here that I'd like to maybe amend the motion or something like that. So I think that first, thinking about it in pieces, the expansion of the retail part at Blacksmith Square, I think, is a great proposal. So I wanted to thank you for submitting that. And I actually think it's sufficiently good and doable, and I've got no qualms about partnering here, that I would like to, as part of this, say that we'll enter into this exclusive negotiating rights agreement, but I'd like to see the DDA come back in 60 to 90 days for our consideration. So
don't see
I would like
anybody-
to ask...
is anybody over there choking?
Certainly, sir, but it's well disguised because we're trained professionals.
Very good.
Your draft ENRA before you this evening has a base date of 120 days as its length. So there are two ways that you could sort of accomplish the goal that was set out there. One is to literally shorten the length of time in the ENRA. That would be the least favorite of your staff. Because of the fact if we were a few days short or long, I guess in this particular case, it would require returning to you for an action to give us a few more days and then returning to you for the final action. So that would be one way to do it, is shorten the actual negotiating period. The other would be your direction to staff. Certainly staff has control of about half of the negotiation. The other half, of course, is the ability of the partner to do all of the things that are necessary, and that's by no means trivial on that point there. But we would certainly take the direction from the council as having your direction to us to make our staff resources available to return to you within 60 to 90 days. We'd still recommend that your actual ENRA has a maximum outside term of 120 days, but of course we serve at the pleasure of the council on that one.
So that was a way of saying you could do it.
We think we have the staff resources to return to you within 90 days. The trick there is there's a lot of coordination that has to happen between the two parties.
So I guess what I'm saying is I'd like the direction to be to try to do that.
Yes, sir.
And so I'd like to...
Sure, that'd be fine.
Okay, and that I presume that, Mr. Madden, you'd be willing to engage in that effort? Yes, sir. On that time frame? So I think so I was just trying to up you one on
Thank you.
to the getting this done. But we've been talking about this for a long time, and I think that when you look at that expansion of Blacksmith Square, the way you describe those buildings, and that consistency with the rest of the park, that makes that a done thing. Okay, and then as Councilmember Spadowski pointed out, the other things are optional, right? And we got to think about them a little bit. So what I would like to say is that the distinction is with the Science Center, I think we want to enter, I'm agreeing to entering into the ENRA with them. I think we need to talk about the time to do that, because that's something that's going to take some time to get together, and we might have to think about the term sheet. So one option here for consideration is that we make that maybe a 9-month kind of time frame, 6 to 9 months for the ENRA. But that what we really want is at the end of that is some clarity on the term sheet, exactly what's going to be where. And the reason for me mentioning this is that, if I could, when we set up the Stockman's Park agreement, we were pretty clear, in my mind. We have the cultural core easement and everything else, right? I mean, retail on one side and the other one. Now, in the LSS agreement, they kind of begin to blend together, and I think we got to think carefully about how that happens. So I think getting clear on the term sheet is the real goal there, and giving them enough time to do that so that we say, yeah, that really makes sense. And then, but during that period, they've got the exclusive negotiating rights agreement, and then we come back and say, okay, we want to go beyond that. So that would be my recommendation. So it's a long way around to the amendment to the thing is with respect to the retail. We approve the 120-day ENRA, and we strive mightily for the DDA in 90 days. And then with respect to the LSC, so we enter into, and I don't know what, like a 9-month ENRA, and that the goal is to make sure within that period of time we've got clarity on the term sheet. So
I need to see some more things on LSSC, quite honestly, financially, to make sure. The one thing I fear about everything, the thing that wakes me up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, is we build stuff downtown without pursuing the capital arrangements that we have, and they sound great. And when we're talking rainbows and unicorns, it's great to hear 100 people talk about rainbows and unicorns. But when you have to put it to paper, and you have to operate it, and you have to build it. Fortunately, hopefully you build it before you operate it. I would like to know that we're not going to have in several months an empty building on our beautiful downtown. So that's really important to me. So I'd rather separate the two entities, quite honestly, and make sure that we've got a good financial base to deal with, to look from that point of view.
Two entities, I'm not sure which two entities you're talking about.
LSSC and the retail stuff, the Red
Oh,
Bear.
yes, and that's what we've done.
I think that's what we're
All
doing.
right, good, cool.
We've done that, but I
think that's my reason. I would just, I don't want city money going to any of it, quite honestly.
Right.
And
So-
I don't, that's
so
a
if I
big
could say,
selling
so
point for me.
I think, again, Councilmember Carling got us there quickly, but I think the idea was to be separate, two concepts.
Right.
And what I did was I just made an amending motion, and I don't know if I got a second.
Second.
Okay. And if I could say one other thing, and I like what you just said, Bob, with respect to what we're after here is, as we enter into these partnerships, is kind of certainty that it's going to make sense. And I think that what I was trying to get at when I mentioned the term sheet is that we really kind of understand that as we take the next step. And we're not, at any point here, really obligating any money on the city's part. But what we are trying to do is make sure that the partners we select are viable, right? And so we only have one. We didn't have any other competing partners for this. So I just think that the prudent step is much along the lines you said with respect to the LSSC is let's just see the next set of projections and terms and what are we really talking about.
Much more to it. And I'm thinking, again, as a business banker, what would I want to see if I want to approve somebody to build stuff for me? What do I want on my desk that morning if I'm going to approve that loan? And we're not making any loans. Don't misunderstand me.
Right.
But I want to make really sure that there's enough solvency to pay for a building when you're not used to paying for a building, to pay to operate it, to pay for the indemnity. All these little things that add up when people think of a business plan. A business plan is a very complicated thing for almost any entity if you do it right.
No,
we want to make sure that we choose the right partners here.
And I take it you don't have those worries on the retail part.
On the retail part, I'm good.
I had Question for Mr. Madden. We saw, I think, a pretty interesting design from Fogg in terms of the steakhouse connected to the LSSC. Is that something that you participated in terms of conversations with the Unified Group?
A little bit. I mean, that kind of came to me, and there are elements of that that are certainly possible. A lot of it is timing.
Sure.
Like you said, it was Sauced is the third restaurant,
Right,
not
right.
the fifth or fourth or anything. So there was 2 failures before we got it right. But I just bring that up. Number one, to correct the record, but number two is you lay out these plans and you don't know. I mean, when we switched Blacksmith Square from a muffler shop to a little shops with courtyards, I mean, I had no idea that it was going to end up being, wineries and beers. I thought we were going to have a taco place, a yogurt place, and a hot dog place. And so you set out kind of in one direction, and then a better idea comes along, and you just kind of hitch your wagon to it. That concept is certainly workable. Like we talked about, the shared. The shared core, the stairways and elevators and stuff.
Right.
I mean, we would explore all of that.
Okay.
And we don't really have a set direction in another way. I mean, I'd love to be able to, coordinate something like that, but you can't. I mean, I mean, it has to show up pretty early in the process.
Sure. Okay.
But no, that's what I meant. I mean, we've always cooperated with things and that's a successful concept. And if somebody's out there that wants to operate a steakhouse and an event center and stuff that could be the linchpin to this thing, then let's do it.
Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting idea to be able to share some of the, the elevator, the stairway, and the restrooms and so on.
No, it's like what we did with the movie theater.
Right,
I mean,
right.
He left here, with an approval to do 10 theaters, and then he said, "Geez, if I want to get Titanic on day one, I have to have 13. Could I lease some space from you?" I said yes, and then we made it happen. And he actually has three theaters that cross our property line. So
that's the 3 theaters. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't quite get that since you can get that from inside. Anyway,
no,
okay.
I mean we
Got
work,
it.
we
Okay.
solve problems, and
Cool.
we get things done.
Good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so are we clear on the amending motion that was relating to the ENRA and the DDA and the time frame for those?
I'd like to clarify in the motion.
Restate that? Okay. Would you care to restate your amending motion?
Did it?
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that essentially your amendment was to leave the deadline of 120 days as the term of the ENRA with Red Bear, with a goal of returning in 90 days. And the second was to revise the term of the LSSC to 9 months, during which time there was additional comment on the level of clarity and detail that would need to be developed during that period of time. But the amendment was to lengthen the time to 9 months. And that was the essence of the amending motion.
Yeah, with the goal of returning at that, so the term sheet, it would be that codification, codification of the deal.
The details to determine feasibility. Right.
Okay, so you're clear on that? So that's the amending motion. It's been seconded. Any further discussion on, and then we've.
Just the further discussion, and what Councilmember Carling brought up, and this is a chance during that period of time, because there is that potential interface between the LSSC and that retail.
Yeah.
That is what I'm suggesting needs to be clarified in this period of time.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, that's it. So you can, I believe, Red Bear can go ahead with the retail, understanding that they've got that potential interface to be worked, and it's not a problem. So that's the thought. But that interface needs to be explicitly addressed. And as we cross we've got the cultural retail divide, and as you start connecting them, then we got to be clear on that, what we're allowing. So that's the thought.
Okay, any further discussion on the amending motion? Okay, all in favor of the amending motion, signify by saying, if so, we were going to do this by roll call. So, on the amending motion,
On the amending motion, Councilmember Carling,
Aye.
Councilmember Coomer,
Aye.
Councilmember Spadovsky,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Warner,
Aye.
Mayor Marchand.
aye. Okay, so now back to the main motion, which is to move the commercial component and the Science and Society Center as separate projects, but nonetheless to move ahead with the current applicants on those. Any further discussion on that motion? Okay, once again, roll call, please.
Councilmember Carling,
Aye.
Councilmember Coomer,
Aye.
Councilmember Spadovsky,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Warner,
Aye.
Mayor Marchand.
Aye. Okay, so now we're on to the one that is contested, and this is for the Black Box Theater. I said this is the second most important in the history of Livermore. So with that, discussion on this.
Well, I'll start by saying how much I appreciated both the proposals. I thought they were both quite good. I was a little disappointed that some folks seemed to really had an opinion that maybe one or both didn't meet the requirements from the RFQ, and I thought they both did a very, very nice job. I would, and to Mr. Kasky's point, I think it is hard to define what a black box theater is. I mean, I spent some time trying to understand it too, and you can go to the internet, of course. That's where you would go first, right? And you Google what is a black box theater, and you get what I think Mr. Kasky summarized is that, you know, some of the earlier ones were in people's garages or living rooms, things like that. So it's hard to decide what the black box theater is, and I think that, you know, I think both of them succeeded at that in terms of proposing something that might resemble what we envision as a black box theater. I'll have to say that the thing that troubles me more than anything is LV Pac's rake seating, because that, to me, sort of runs counter to what we want in a black box theater. And not that there aren't black box theaters out there that have rake seating. I assume that there are many, but I do like the idea of having the space as flexible as possible. And I think the rake seating probably limits, to some extent, the space and the usability of the space. So that's sort of where I'm leaning at this point. I'd be glad to hear what other people are thinking about this.
There's a point of clarification that I'd like to ensure that everybody has the advantage of. In the presentation from LV Pac, as they were showing the financials of where the contributions were coming from, there was $500,000 from Supervisor Haggerty's office for the Arts Center. I didn't see that in the Livermore Shakespeare proposal, but as I understand it, that $500,000 goes with the theater. Is that correct?
So from the supervisor's office, your staff has had a conversation with his chief of staff, and that was indicated by the chief of staff that the funding would actually follow whoever got the approval from the city to actually create the building.
Okay, so that goes, whichever applicant is successful, that $500,000 goes with that applicant. So it's not solely one proposal or the other.
That was the information that the supervisor's office provided staff.
Okay, very good.
Actually, I can provide a bit of clarification on that as well. On Wednesday, I was at a meeting with Supervisor Haggerty, and I mentioned, hey, it looks like you're supporting one proposal with the letter. And he clarified by saying that that money was available to either group, whichever group received the bid or the proposal with the city would have access to that $500,000.
Okay. Well, whichever developer is selected, the city is going to need to work with that partner to ensure its success. And the city already is a partner with LV Pack because the city owns the Bankhead Theater. At the last council meeting, members of the LV Pack board, and also at tonight's meeting, members of the LV Pack board talked about the importance of transparency and openness in the process. But at the same meeting, we learned that LV Pack will not allow members of the city council to speak to it. Now, the members of the LV Pack board have unfettered access to speak to the city council. And my concern is if we're going to be partners, I'm mystified at the need for secrecy from the city partner. You really can't be functional partners unless you can talk to each other. And there's communication on one side but not the other. And I find that very troubling, especially when we've heard so much about transparency. LV Pack, as we heard tonight, is supported by a wonderful group of donors. But they'll now need to shoulder an additional burden, another lift to support another theater. And we must be mindful of donor fatigue. Most of the letters from the LV Pack proposal had identical phrasing in the letters. But I was particularly struck by a line that was in almost every letter that supported the LV Pack proposal, because in my mind it illustrates a fundamental concept behind the development of the downtown plan. And the line was, "We believe that the Black Box Theater will become a cultural gathering place for people who might otherwise never cross paths." That was in almost every letter. And I thought that was remarkable. Because what the unified group did was to bring together, in the words of that letter, quotes, people who might otherwise never cross paths. And I find that very exciting. People who might never cross paths have come together on this unified vision. The LV Pack proposal is from the same people who are already supporting the arts and are now going to be asked to make an even bigger lift to support another theater. What's exciting about the unified vision is it brings together new groups that have historically not crossed paths. The Stockmen, the Wine Growers, Livermore Downtown Inc., Interfaith Housing, the Chamber of Commerce, the Livermore Shakespeare, the science and the history communities are now coming together to support the arts, the sciences, and they want to collaborate with LV Pack to include and rather than exclude. This proposal that we've seen from the unified group makes the tent bigger. Working together, bringing in more patrons, more supporters of the sciences and the arts and the history, and that brings in a greater opportunity for success. What we've heard several times tonight is that the leadership of the LV Pack board opposed every element of the unified vision. And they continue to publish full-page ads trying to convince the public to overturn the council's decision. We want this to succeed, and that is not the type of commitment that I want on this project. I do not believe the council should turn over the second most important project in its history to an organization whose leadership opposes it, who opposes that vision. And I think that we should give the responsibility of the project to an organization that is fully committed to its success and not one that continues to rail against it. The only way that what the city of Livermore wants, the only way to get that is to give it to an organization that is committed to build it and is committed from the beginning. What has been presented tonight in a unified plan, that unified plan came together organically by groups that wouldn't have normally crossed paths, them coming together to put these three interlocking pieces together like the three legs of a stool. We've already voted on two of those legs. And to me, it doesn't make sense to break the plan apart to force a partnership on one of those three key elements, to force a partnership with LV PAC, an organization whose leadership continues to oppose the council's decision on the downtown. So I will support the Unified Vision proposal because they're the ones that have the commitment to get it done and that continue to have that commitment. And to me, that's what's important, because if you don't have the commitment to get the job done, it's not going to get done. And we need to work with people that have that commitment.
Well, let me give you a little different take. I waited. I'm not one who goes to Chamber of Commerce meetings or anybody's meetings, quite honestly. I'm a loner. I go out in the middle of wilderness. I commune with things. I know nature. I understand things. I get along well with people, almost anybody who wants to talk to me about anything. So I've got no axe to grind with anybody here. What I'm looking at here is we've got to find a way that whoever we approve can capitalize this project, first and foremost. I spent a lot of time doing research today. I looked up foreign 990s in the Secretary of State's office today just to see who has enough money to maybe, where this is going to come from, where we're building a building, we're operating a building, we're paying all the costs and indemnification and everything else is there. And frankly, it struck me that why don't these two groups get along? Why can't they come together since they're both going to be using a similar facility? And why you need more seats, regardless of how, again, I just spent the weekend looking at Douglas firs up in Washington State, and why people can't get along and figure out the proper definition of a black box theater just escapes me. That's not in my realm. And it seems to me that when you have retractable seating, movable seating, you can make something work if you want to. Try eating stuff out on the trail when you don't have any food. You'll make something work. And it seems to me just completely wacko that everybody can't sit at a table, figure out how this is going to be utilized, what space it is. Bankhead management knows, and you can tell by looking at those 990s over the years how they've gotten better and better and better, and there's more money behind them, that you have to have seats to have patrons. That's, kind of a maxim of theater, I think. You aren't going to pay the bills unless you sell a lot of seats. I think that applies to every theater group. So it just disturbs me that we're making this an us versus them thing. It offends me from the very beginning, and I don't want to go there. My ways of looking at things are looking at strictly the financials, and why that can't work well for both parties involved here. It just disturbs me. It's really disturbing, and it's really frustrating, in fact. I'll leave it at that. I may get out of line here. I've been on the road too long today.
I have a few comments. Excuse me. My goal this evening was to separate the proposals from the politics, but I will make one statement. After the last council meeting when I expressed frustrations in trying to reach out to the LV PAC board, they reached out to me over the government committee. I initially declined, but then I accepted an offer to work with their government committee trying to improve communication. So I just want to say people have brought that up tonight, that I'm trying, again, to meet with the group and improve things and try and bring some clarity to some of this frustration that we're seeing with groups not being able to work together. So that's my only statement. I wasn't planning on making it, but people brought it up tonight, and I was kind of sort of the instigator last meeting, so I'll leave it at that. Now, getting back to the proposals, what I envisioned a black box theater to be when we decided on the cultural core for this plan was something around 150, more of a production rather than a presenting facility. It's more community-based. It's someplace for the dance troupes to dance. It's someplace for, again, troupes like Livermore Shakespeare to put up a set and to leave it there. Now, both models, I believe, could work. It's just what was the vision, what did we express during all those meetings, and who came up with the best plan to meet that vision. And for me, it is the Livermore Shakespeare proposal. Again, I believe in a smaller venue, easier to manage, lowered expectations. I mean, maybe that's something that I learned in high school social settings, that, you know, by lowering my expectations, I wasn't as disappointed as I often was. But I am uncomfortable with the proposal of putting in a restaurant above the black box theater. At no time did we ever suggest that you commingle facilities. As a matter of fact, I think we had a very specific retail square footage number for that area. We have plenty of spaces for a restaurant, and I'm plain concerned about relying on a restaurant, an art gallery, and events and conferences for such a large portion of the earned income. I think that is risky, and it in particular the restaurant, maybe not so much the art gallery, but I think that that's just a risky venture. I see where you're going with it, and if you were the only proposal, I think, you know, that would be kind of an obvious choice. It wouldn't just be, I think it would be workable, but I think the vision that we already put out there, and tonight I never really thought of it as producing versus presenting. That never crossed my mind. It came up here tonight, and it really struck home with me in making this decision. And also, I think, you know, giving another group a chance and diversifying our theater groups could be a good thing. It's I know and I understand all the operational advantages of LVPAC operating a black box theater, but that again would be an operational advantage if we were looking for 250 seats plus a rooftop garden plus a restaurant. I'm living by the words of let this operation succeed or fail on its own, and I think the simpler the better. And a community-based producing theater is the way that we should go forward. Again, working with groups, not guaranteeing anything, and again, echoing some of the concerns about not putting city money into this, because we quite literally said that many times because of the backlash of the public that said, you know, you don't need to be funding another black box theater, or they called it a mini bankhead, you know, those that wanted to criticize it. And it's just, they don't understand that that's not what's being proposed. Neither side is proposing a mini bankhead. It's just a different service for a different groups. And I just think that one has the better chance at serving the small community groups than the other.
Vice Mayor Warner?
You know, amongst the council, lots of things have been said, and we heard from 40-odd speakers, and lots of stuff was said. And I think there are various nuggets that I resonated with, and I'd just like to kind of put them out there, and then we can go from there. But first of all, I want to go back to the Stockman's Agreement. I'd like to ask staff, if, and maybe even the other council members, but my understanding, and I just want to get it confirmed, is we specifically delineated between retail, commercial, and cultural. And I believe a restaurant of the size that was proposed by LVPAC is in the commercial range. Is that true?
So size isn't your defining characteristic. It's rather the restaurant essentially is an ancillary use of the cultural. In other words, is it there to support the food uses of the actual facility itself, like a snack bar or something like that? My understanding is how it's been described is it would actually be a standalone use, and in that case, it would be outside what you generally consider for the cultural area. The council ultimately would have to consult with the Stockmans on that.
Right. So that's what I was saying. They would have to also consult with the stockman, I believe, because of what we said we were going to do. And so that's another question. I'm not sure LVPAC has reached out to the stockman. They've talked about collaboration, but I'm not sure they got that, ran that past the stockman and got it approved by the stockman. Don't know. But the thing is, my understanding of the Stockman's Park agreement, I was a party to that, is that we were not trying to put retail over there. And in particular, this is what I wanted to say is, and it resonates with what Councilmember Spadowski said, we weren't trying to build a building there unless it met this need for the cultural core. We weren't trying to make another retail spot. And that, and if I want to, one of the things, I definitely resonate with Councilmember Coomer. I mean, the financials of the entity are very important, but what we're talking about tonight is only giving an organization a chance to put something together. We are not committing anything, especially of the city's funds. So I just want to say that. And frankly, a proposal that is based on commercial success for the viability bothers me because that's not what we're trying to do here. So that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, just the same. I'll raise the same thing. My biggest fear is building a building that can't be sustained, and
Right.
we have an empty building downtown, and that should never happen. So, who's got the money, got the ability to manage it and run it, has proven that, and without any personalities involved, and I don't know that we've really had a clearer vision that there aren't personalities involved. And that's what disturbs me most. First, that the two groups vying for this thing cannot seem to come together on some level of working together. That troubles me immensely. We're all grown-ups. I have to go home and I'm married. I have to, all that stuff. You got to get along. That's what you do. You got to get along. You got to find a way. If you want to have a really, really good operation, y'all got to get along.
Or just say yes to everything your wife.
Well, no. I go and watch basketball.
That's what I do. It's easier. It's yes, dear.
I think I was in the middle of my comments, but I was trying to get to your other point that I wanted to resonate with, which is especially the people being able to get along. But the first thing I was speaking to is in no way do I regard the situation here tonight committing us to a group and that therefore we have to vet the financials fully. What we're talking about is a vision and giving a vision a chance to come to fruition, and that it's maybe a year from now that we would actually get into vetting the financials.
We come from different backgrounds.
Well, I don't know. I worked for a bank, right? So, so what I'm trying to say is, so that's one thing. I don't think we're definitely not committing city funds, and we are talking about giving a vision a chance. That's the way I'm telling you that's how I view it. Now, I think it was, got all kinds of notes here, and if I can find it, I think it was it Mr. Seiler, Brent Seiler?
Brent Seiler.
Seiler. I actually, his comments were very much somewhat similar to Councilmember Coomer's about, why can't we all just get along here? So I guess the goal here is to have, we heard a lot of people coming on both proposals saying they really want a black box theater. And of course, we have to figure out what one is, but I think we know that, maybe. But the idea would be, my hope would be, once a decision is made here as to who's the lead, that the other proposal would, since both said they were great collaborators, would in fact collaborate with the one chosen. So that's my hope. And I think, and the suggestion that I think Mr. Seiler resonated with was Mr. Kent's thing about, hey, my pledge is to the Black Box Theater. So I would also hope that that is also true on the other side, that the donors on on both sides are committed to the idea of a black box theater and not the idea of their particular side being the one in control, and that they would agree to, in fact, collaborate, cooperate, and jointly put it together. So it's just my hope that once the decision is made, that is done. And I think that's in some ways what you were saying, Councilmember Coomer. So it's just, we above all else here, we've got to come together in this town and not battle it out. So that's where it is. Now, if I get back to the, so I went through the Stockman's Park agreement. I don't think we're doing a financial decision tonight. We are trying to get people to collaborate. But personally, when we were making the decision on what the cultural core would be, and when we talked about a black box theater, I was aware that what we were talking about is a producing area. And I look at Jeff Caskey's comments, and he emphasized it a couple of times, that what LVPAC does really well is it presents performances really well, right? So I think I'm personally into a little bit of diversity on who's doing what. I do love the thought of production and of space devoted to that, and I think the smaller size is preferable, and and what Councilmember Carling said about the rake seating, that just kind of bothered me because of all the research that I was able to do, not a lot. It didn't look that way. It looked more theater in the round, very configurable. So I'm in favor of the smaller proposal, and I would hope that we go there, and that if we do, that the both sides cooperate, like they said they were going to do.
Councilmember Spadowski reminded me of something by bringing the elements together. But what really struck me was the comment tonight from Livermore Shakes, the quote that it was a strong network to lift up new and diverse voices. New and diverse voices, because we've heard from a number of the same voices for years, and they're doing a great job. But that we can lift up new voices. And they also said to support the city's vision. And that's absolutely key, because Councilor Spadowski reminded me that 3 years ago, what we heard as the project that was being promoted by the LVPAC leadership was an oversized conference center with 299 raked seats with an attached restaurant. Now, what the city asked for was a 150-seat black box theater for producing. That's what we want. And what LVPAC proposed is just a very slightly smaller version of what they proposed 3 years ago before we went through the entire outreach plan. And we're getting the same thing. It's not what the city wanted. It's what LVPAC wanted. And I think that's the difference, is it's the city's vision here. We went through a tremendous outreach plan, and what we heard over and over again was that LVPAC wanted a 299-seat oversized conference center with raked seating. And that's what they presented in their proposal. That's not what we asked for. And it's fundamental to the question that we had, is who has a commitment to build what the city wants? Who has a commitment to see through what the city has envisioned, what all of these groups that have come together that may not have crossed paths otherwise have come together as a vision? And that's the partner we're selecting tonight, is a partner that can help fulfill the city's vision. And I would love for everybody to come together and work together. And hopefully we can get there. But I believe the only way that we're going to get there is to select a partner that is committed to see this vision through.
Are we done?
Well, I can go on all night.
I'd like to throw out a motion that we accept the Livermore Shakespeare Festival proposal, and with the same terms for the ENRA that we afforded the Science Center. Because I think, again, I think the retail is really the key to get moving forward with that. Everybody, I believe, is on board, and I think that can be done relatively quickly, but the others need some time, as Vice Mayor Warner suggested, time to negotiate and to figure out the financials and to really work together to make this thing work.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Spadowski, seconded by Councilmember Carling. And once again, to reiterate that we hope that all the parties can collaborate, work together to fulfill what is really a magnificent vision for the downtown, the second most important development in the history of Livermore. Thank you very much. No. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? A roll call vote, please.
Wait.
Oh,
I hate to prolong. I just want to emphasize and I want to reach out, Councilmember Coomer, and say that, again, I believe that this is a time, what we're talking about here, what's been my understanding of this motion is to give the unified group vision as the lead to develop this. That we're going to give them the 9 months to put the term sheet together, and that we kind of get clarity on a lot of factors, and it gives time for all the groups that declared they wanted to collaborate with them, and that I would hope that when it comes back in that time period that we do see that collaboration.
Very good, thank you. Any other discussion on that motion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Carling?
Aye.
Councilmember Coomer?
No.
Councilmember Spadowski?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Warner?
Aye.
Mayor Marchand?
Aye. Okay, we have gotten that. Thank you very much for all of your input tonight. It's been a long evening, and certainly appreciate everyone's input. I'm looking forward to this. I'm very excited about this project, and I'm convinced something great is going to come back to this council. With that, meeting adjourned until the regular meeting on June 25th, 7 o'clock, right back here.